What's up, fellow quarantine travelers? How's everybody doing? All right. It's Thursday at 7. So
Which means it's time for wine.
wine time. Cool. So I'm not really sure who all is on, but if you are there, feel free to say hi in the chat. Let us know where you are. Let us know. I think the fun thing to talk about tonight is road trips. So let us know if you have a favorite road trip as well.
Yeah, we had a good conversation on Sunday. What day was it?
Sunday.
Yeah, on Sunday about road trips.
Hey,
so
Rachel.
I thought we'd kind of continue
Thanks
some
for
of it.
joining.
Rachel, welcome. How are you?
Hope your back's feeling better. I know that.
We need to cheers by that.
Cheers.
So we start drinking.
Oh, right.
And ting ting to all of you out there.
Yeah. But anyway, Rachel, I hope your back's feeling a little bit better. I know that you woke up a little stiff. That's never fun.
Yeah. Eliz did some restorative yoga today.
Too restorative. Okay, so let's just talk about that real quick while we have people. Oh, not better. I'm sorry to hear that. But yeah, let's just talk about my restorative yoga experience. So I did an hour-long YouTube free yoga class today that was supposed to target just like the hips area. I could not even finish it. And it's not because I'm like not experienced at yoga. It was just so intense. And like restorative yoga for everybody, it's like supposed to be pretty relaxing in certain ways, but this particular one clearly was not relaxing to me.
She came up afterwards and she was just kind of like shell shocked.
I was like
I
could not finish. It was so painful, but it didn't hurt me. It was just it was probably needed, let's be honest. Anyway, so just want to say hi to everybody else who just joined.
Hey, Katie Smith.
Hey,
welcome.
Katie Smith. Great,
Al,
great
welcome.
to have you on from San Francisco again. And hey, Alan A. So Katie's saying she loved her road trip in California and Arizona and Utah, and also abroad along the garden route in South Africa. That sounds so cool. Rachel, I know, has been to South Africa on this chat too, so I'm curious if she did any road trips while she was there as well. So in South Africa, do they drive on the right or the left side of the road?
I've never been. I don't know.
We should probably figure that out. Do you want to Google it?
Sure, but it's got served Papa John's, so
Okay,
if anybody's curious,
we don't need Papa John's.
They have no contact delivery.
We already ate dinner. But anyway, yeah, that sounds really fun. We've done some road trips in California. Okay, so Katie's saying that they drive on the left side of the road. So that would be a little bit of a difference to get used to as well. But in California and Arizona and Utah, we've done some good road trips ourselves too. I've driven along the coast of California. I don't know if I've done it with you.
Nope. Not really.
Not a lot of the coast. I've driven from San Diego to LA. And then we've done like the Napa, Sonoma areas and stuff like that from San Francisco.
Yeah.
And then
we went up to what, Mendocino with Matt?
Yeah, we went to Mendocino. That's right. That was a day trip as well.
Yeah.
That was a really cool drive too, because you kind of drive through the redwood forests up there, and then
was pretty cool.
The coastal areas, like all these cliffs with beautiful tall grass and stuff. And there's a state park. I think it's just called Mendocino State Park, right on the coast there. And it just is it's like a different climate, if you will.
Sorry, I'm yawning, guys. I only had one cup of coffee today.
We are low on coffee in this house. It's becoming an emergency.
Yeah, we're actually kind of out of coffee.
Yeah.
We're going to bust into this next.
Oh, yeah, we have this is our coffee that we take on airplanes because it's, what's it called? Instant coffee that you can mix in.
We've actually never had this kind before. It's called Four Sigmatic. is a mushroom coffee mix. It's supposed to be good for like your brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or something like that. So
apparently mushrooms are good for your brain. Discuss. Just kidding.
We haven't tried it yet, so I have no idea if it's any good or if it tastes weird. Or
if we seem smarter on Sunday, it's probably because of the coffee.
It's a low bar. I'm not feeling very smart right now.
So we also might just actually go outside and get some new coffee too.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been running through the coffee that we bought. We bought like 2 bags when we first got back from the Netherlands when we went to the store. Actually, that would have been like 2 weeks after we got back.
We bought more.
But with Derek home all the time now, man, that guy, he sips coffee like it's his job.
I drink a lot of coffee. I do. This is your brain. This is your brain on Sigmatic. Nice, Al. No, so I would typically at the office I would drink, probably 4 to 5 cups a day. So doing that here, uses up quite a bit of coffee.
Yeah, and we went to Costco a little bit ago and bought like Nespresso pods.
Oh yeah.
But it was a fail because they don't fit our particular Nespresso maker.
Yeah. So
now
be careful that if you have an espresso machine that you buy the right pods.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it. I just bought the thing that was there and didn't look at what kind of an espresso machine it worked for. So I bought like the little ones. I think are for like the Virtuoso line or something like that. And definitely not the one that we have. So.
But if you watched my latest interview with my friend Clarissa that I posted yesterday, where she got back from Argentina, she raves about Nespresso.
And I think she actually uses the pods that we bought, so we'll probably try to get them.
Yeah, so maybe I'll I'll give her the pods as a thank you for doing such an awesome interview.
Yeah.
Derek was so cute yesterday when he was watching that video. He was like, "Wow, this is a really good interview," and I was like, "Gosh, thank you."
No, it was good. It was interesting. It was like cool content. I thought it was nice.
Yeah. Well, plus, she's a friend of ours too. So, we were riveted by her story about getting back from Argentina. So what happened was, and I'll let you guys watch, her tell it. But net, it was so fascinating because, it was a different experience than what we had with coming back from Amsterdam. So when they kind of closed the borders to Europe, they said, okay, all the Americans, you have 2 days to get home, basically. Which 2 days is really a tight turnaround as well. But what happened in Argentina is the U.S. didn't close the borders with Argentina. Argentina closed the borders with the U.S. And they closed it instantly. So she had a couple hours, basically, to figure out how to get home. Because I think the deadline was like midnight that day. So it's quite a saga, let me tell you guys. So if you haven't watched that video yet, it's a good one.
Yeah, and I remember when it was happening, we were kind of texting back and forth and stuff on Instagram and stuff. And
we had no idea if she
so
was
we
making it.
we weren't sure,
Until she did.
It was kind of a back and forth thing about like, are you coming back or not coming back? What are you going to do? And so you can get the whole story on her video, which was, again, it was really cool. I thought it was a very interesting story. So.
Yeah. So Rachel was saying that she did do day trips in South Africa as well, to the Cape of Good Hope and to the Winelands. So I assume that's like the Stellenbosch wine area, which is, I think, their most famous one. I'm sure there's probably others too that I just don't personally know the names of, but I really someday want to go to the Stellenbosch area. I just generally would love to go to Cape Town and Cape of Good Hope, like all that area. I have heard nothing but good things. I'm jealous of Katie Smith. I'm jealous of Rachel. Stellenbosch. So I think we definitely have South Africa on our list. We're just, because it's a little bit pricier of a trip, have held off for the time being.
Yeah, when we go, we want to do kind of like a cool safari and stuff. So we're kind of holding off a little bit so we can do
Safari
it well.
plus wine plus Cape Town plus like just everything else. I mean, it's just such a marvel, and I want to spend as much time as I can there.
Yeah. So
Rachel's saying there's also a wine region called Franschhoek. That's it, right? Franschhoek?
Franschhoek. I don't know.
Man, I gotta brush up on my Afrikaans for that. Okay, and then Katie's saying, it's beautiful. I did my undergrad study abroad at the University of Stellenbosch. That's so cool. Oh my gosh, I am so jealous of you. That sounds like such a great place to study abroad.
I mean, you study abroad in London.
And I live in the San Francisco area too, I think. So,
Katie, are you in the wine business?
Yeah, like, can we talk about wine with you? It seems like maybe that's something to discuss. That's how you say it. Yeah, okay.
You said it about 5 different ways, so we don't know how.
Franschhoek?
Franschhoek? There's got to be a little...
Yes, they forgot the accent though.
So, good times. But yeah, so
she says she wishes she was in the wine business. Well, it sounds like
it's never too late to start.
You've positioned yourself adjacent to it, so that would be a good transition always.
Actually, there's a new movie. Just realized I don't have Netflix on my phone. But there's a new movie on Netflix that is about a guy who wants to become a master sommelier. That is on our list of movies
we just
to watch.
added it. I think it was on. Was it on Netflix or Prime?
On Netflix.
Oh, okay. Yes, we watched a trailer for a movie yesterday about an African American guy who wants to become a master sommelier, and like his family kind of starts teasing him and stuff like that.
It's like he grows up in like there's a family of people that do like barbecue. They have a barbecue stand, and like he's supposed to take over the stand from his father someday, but he wants to be a master sommelier, and it looks pretty cool and interesting.
That's definitely the next movie we're watching, by the way, because it looked so good. Like it looked like my kind of movie, basically.
It looks like a dramatized version of like watching Somm,
yeah,
which we enjoyed a lot. The movie Somm.
Well, it was like a documentary, I think, more than the movie.
Well, that was a documentary. Yeah.
Hey, Kapika, or I guess Alex.
Alex.
Hello from LA. He says taking a road trip up the 101 to San Francisco is terrific. Oh, yes, everybody seems to really love that ride, and I think you've hit the nail on the head. That's definitely one of the top U.S. road trips for sure. Hey Darian, great to see you from Germany, Travel Personal Guide. Howdy. Hope you're doing well too. We are just sitting here talking about road trips, wine, South Africa, Netflix.
Anything.
Having a good Thursday.
Anything people want to talk about.
Yeah. I know that we really wanted to also quickly go over how crazy the weather's been here in Chicago. I don't know if it's crazy anywhere else, but like when we were broadcasting our last live stream on Sunday morning, it got up to like the 70s and sunny. It was just absolutely beautiful here in Chicago on Easter Sunday.
As you can tell by our beautiful tans.
And Derek grilled. He outside on our grill for the first time. He was able to like grill burgers and stuff that night. And then first
time this year, not ever.
Yeah. And then 2 days later, we get this like crazy snowstorm. So Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, we literally had so much snow that there was like accidents on the highway.
Oh, there's a huge pileup.
Huge 60-car pileup.
This morning, right?
No, it was yesterday morning when it snowed.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And like Derek and I had planted flowers over the weekend because it was so nice in our yard, and they were literally covered in snow.
Yeah.
And we're hoping
we had to go out and like bring them inside, try to like give them we wanted them to shelter in place with us.
Yeah.
Basically,
they came in and we didn't socially distance from our flowers as we were trying to heal them.
What was funny was like I feel like a couple weeks ago, Eliz was saying to me, Chicago, so we need to have an April snowstorm.
Yeah, okay.
And then it happened. So she jinxed us, guys.
No, I mean, it happens every year in Chicago. We always have at least one snowstorm in April. And it's Like, every year, I'm always surprised, first of all. Even though I've lived here for the majority of my life.
Yeah.
And every year, I'm like, I know it's coming, but we don't know when it will come.
Yeah.
But anyway, just to close the loop on the 60-car pileup, I believe everyone turned out to be okay. I don't think anybody was critically injured.
Nobody was at the scene. There wasn't major.
Yeah.
I think
So,
like 14 people went to the hospital, but
yeah. So we woke up, and this happened at like 6 in the morning. And we live in between the highway and the hospital. So we woke up to like all these sirens. And I had this moment of like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden was there like this mass outbreak of coronavirus in Chicago. Thank God there wasn't. And thank goodness everybody's okay. But it was a crazy Wednesday morning. So then that happened. So then I woke up, went downstairs, started making coffee, and I was like, oh my gosh, Derek, our flowers are completely covered in snow. And we had no idea that it even snowed. So it was just a wild week so far. And then today we were just trying to figure out what was going on. Both Derek and I went for walks separately, but it was like in the 30s.
we were social distancing from each other.
Yeah.
No, well, she went in the morning.
working.
She went in the morning, and it was like 30 something degrees outside, and I was like, I'm gonna wait because I think it's supposed to get up to like in the 40s. So I went for a walk then.
We have some new. So I just want to say hi, Brenna, and hi, Megan Morris. Great to see you both. Cheers.
Brenna, welcome to the neighborhood.
Yes. It's so good to have you back. And Brenna's saying, yeah, Chicago is seasonally confused. It sure is. I don't know if this is even going to be the last snowstorm. That's the craziest part. Yeah. I'm hoping so. But,
we'll see. Kapika agrees with me. Way to go, Eliz. But Katie is asking, when is the best time to visit Chicago, since it seems cold?
So, Chicago is really funny. Like, Brenna described it pretty well. When we used to live in New York, we came out to Chicago one year on President's Day weekend in February, and it was literally 70 degrees. We went to the beach. We were walking along the beach. There were people laying out, and there's like a guy doing stand-up paddleboarding in the lake, which, by the way, the lake was definitely still frigid in February. So if he had fallen in, he would be screwed. Game over. Yeah. But, cheers to him. He must be really good at stand-up paddleboards. But anyway, we were just like stunned, about what is this weather.
Yeah, I told her, I was like, we can move here. This is great. She's like, no, you don't understand. That's not how it usually is.
Yeah. And so then there's always so we've lived here now since January 2018. And so the past 3 Aprils, it has always snowed at least once in April. And the springtime has just been so topsy-turvy with all of the weather that I always tell people, if you can come in the summertime to visit, that is the time.
June, July is usually pretty good. May, you still might have some cold days and whatnot. So if you're coming and you want to go to the beach and do things like that, because one of the things that people don't think about around Chicago is that Chicago is one of the few major cities that has beaches downtown. Mm-hmm. So
and they're free.
So you come here, you come in the summertime, you can go Michigan Avenue shopping and then stop by the beach and hang out at the beach or something like that. It's pretty amazing.
Right now they're closed.
Yeah, right now they're closed.
Everything's closed right now. But normally the beaches are open year round. But I would, as a resident, I wouldn't really think about going and doing a beach day until probably late June to probably early September. And that's definitely the nice time of year to go. I know it's also the nice time of year to go to places like Europe. So, I mean, if you're choosing between a Chicago trip versus a really cool, awesome Europe trip, it might be the same time of year that you're looking at.
Yeah, well, that's one of the issues is that Eliz and I, tend to find ourselves, traveling to Europe during peak Chicago season. When should we be enjoying our home, our neighborhood, our roof deck and things like that? It's usually when we're in Europe, and so that's a little upsetting. Maybe this year we'll spend a little bit more time at home.
Yeah. Well, we will spend a little bit
Clearly.
more time at home this year.
Clearly. Megan Morris, cheers, welcome, hello.
Yay, Megan's on. And then, okay, so Brenna says cheers from up the street. I'm so glad you finally moved closer to us. So our friend Brenna used to live probably a half-hour drive, but still in Chicago from us. And now she's like a little over a mile away, yet we cannot hang out yet.
Well,
So
but what we could walk up the street and we could do a social distance party where like you hang out, we'll hang out, we'll just be like 6 feet apart.
I'm waiting for us to like not really be able to walk up the street though. I feel like it's coming.
I don't know. Okay.
But as of right now, we can still walk outside, at least here in Chicago.
Yeah.
And I know that in New York this week they started saying like Cuomo, and Cuomo's doing a great job at being, very on the defense with everything, and making sure everybody's safe. But I believe in New York now it's highly encouraged, like, wear masks in public. They extended the quarantine to May 15th, and then until further notice after that. So a lot of us are just looking at New York and saying, okay, well, this could happen to us then too. So certainly could.
So I just found a brand new Instagram account that I am just followed, and it's called Official Corona Cuts. It is the home of COVID-19 forced hairstyles.
Your cousin should submit all of her son's haircuts to it.
And these are people who have tried and failed at home hairdos.
I like that it's all guys, because girls wouldn't really dare.
Yeah. So
that's not true. That's such a harsh generalization.
Actually, I was joking about this. This dude has like the Prince Albert going on right there. It's like so fun.
So we were talking about how Derek's hair is getting a little bit long.
Yeah, I'm still styling.
So Derek's cousin is a hairdresser by trade, and she has 4 sons and a husband. And she cut all of their hair this week, and then put in like these crazy wonky styles, just like what he was showing you, and posted them all on Facebook and Instagram and stuff. And I was just like, "Whoa, your house got really wild really quick."
She can fix them.
But I mean, even like Hillary Duff dyed her hair blue this week and stuff, according to her Instagram. So people are experimenting. They're having fun with it.
Why not?
All right.
So, all right, Brenna is saying that summer is the best time to come to Chicago because there's so many street festivals. I agree. Chicago has great street festivals, phenomenal stuff. Highly recommend coming here and going to a few of those. There's like a big Chicago. What's the food one?
Taste of Chicago.
Taste of Chicago, obviously, is a big one. There's also
Taste
a big
Chicago,
rib
I think
fair.
it's in June usually, so it might be postponed this year.
Yeah, but there's a lot of reasons to come to Chicago in the summertime. Lollapalooza, just a bunch of really great things to go to. So some of them cost money, some of them are free. It kind of depends. There's a lot of great parks and music in the parks and whatnot. So a lot of fun stuff to do.
Alex is saying, have you guys found any new intriguing restaurants in your neighborhood lately? Not that anyone can visit the restaurants, but takeout. So
all of our takeout has been very boring. We've been like kind of supporting the same 2 restaurants every week with our
because there's 2
takeout
that we absolutely love, and they're both Asian restaurants. And I think we had talked several live streams ago just about how important it is more about like we
Just
really want to
supporting local
support
businesses.
Asian restaurants because we hear that in certain places people have been a little bit more prejudiced against them. And
It's mainly Chinese.
No, it's actually a lot of other places, according to the media. But anyway, so these particular restaurants are ones that like we would be devastated if they closed. But generally, our neighborhood here in Chicago has a ton of awesome restaurants. So it would be really difficult to support all of them. But we are really looking at the ones that we frequent a lot, and hopefully everybody else in our neighborhood is too.
Yeah.
I hear that even some of the really high-end ones, like we have one called Etta in our area that was written up in the Wall Street Journal. The chef has 2 restaurants in Chicago. It was written up in the Wall Street Journal, I think, a month ago about how their like sales have dropped, but they've completely shifted their business model to be like a family style meal that people can carry out. And Brenna even told me that at least at first they were offering kind of like a
dollar for
dollar thing where like if you spend $50 on takeout now, then you can get a $50 gift card for like when you come, like when they reopen, you can come back in.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really interesting way to get people, incentivized to order.
Yeah, and Etta's great. We've been there one time. It's a nice restaurant and stuff, so we'd love to go back. One of the things that, Alex, we were looking forward to hopefully kind of exploring a little bit more as the weather was getting nicer was kind of the, some of like the, happy hour specials and like all the patios and things like that. But unfortunately, all this stuff happens, so we can't actually participate in any of those. I will say that that's one thing that we haven't been as good about in our neighborhood yet is really exploring and branching out into trying all the different places around us.
Yeah, we had just finally tried. There's there's more sirens. Like we said, we live like kind of close to a hospital, so we hear more sirens than probably the average neighborhood. But there's a restaurant that's a few blocks south of our house that had opened that was like a French style, Provence, like southern France style food that we had just tried earlier this year. Yeah, it was
very good.
And it had a great happy hour. It was just like super enjoyable. All the food was delicious. And it's one of those things where we just really wish that we could go back, and I mean we'll be able to go back soon.
Yeah. Well, they also have not clams.
Mussels.
Oysters.
They
have oysters.
They have
she
both,
loves.
actually, mussels and oysters.
They do have mussels.
I do love oysters, but I would never order oysters as like delivery.
No. But yeah, that place is really good. But yeah, so Alex, if you come out here, we can take you out to some good restaurants that once things open up again, there's a ton of them over here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And plus, we like to actually explore like new restaurants when friends come to visit. So it gives us a great opportunity to, go try local gems that we've heard about, but we haven't had an opportunity to get to before. So.
Yeah.
So Al is saying that in 2017, our trees were all in bloom right now. This year, they've barely started to bud. Spring in Chicago is not very reliable, but summer usually is.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's super strange right now is, so like our next door neighbors have a really good back garden. They clearly take great pride in their garden, and I think them and then us and then the neighbors on the other side are the only people that can really see it. But it's really, we feel very grateful that we can, because it's so beautiful. We can see it from our house.
Yeah.
And
they probably think we're kind of creepy, just like looking out our windows into their backyard.
They comment on how pretty our flowers are too and stuff. So like, when you live in a city, everybody's kind of on each other. But anyway, so they have really cool trees in their backyard. All of them are basically flowering trees. One of them hasn't even done anything yet. Is like completely bare branches. And then the other one, I said to Derek today, like, come here, see. And it has completely flowered. Like all the leaves are already out. All these purple flowers are everywhere on the tree. So I think it all depends on the species of tree too, because we have certain plants on our property that have little buds, and then other ones that have already flowered. So I think the plants are just as confused about the weather right now as the weather itself.
So Megan is saying that her hairstylist has forbidden her to try highlighting or cutting her own hair.
That's interesting. So Rachel, who I think is probably still on, one of her really good friends is a hairstylist, and I was hearing that she was selling like at-home coloring kits along with like a video tutorial about how to do hair from home. So I guess it all depends on how complicated your hair is and stuff like that, probably too. But yes, I mean, probably you just want to wait it out. I'm assuming not too many people are seeing your hair right now, so Better to be safe than sorry, I suppose.
It's funny. Al is saying that he needs to get some ponytail holder advice from Mark Walters soon.
I was laughing so hard when you said that yesterday on the live chat, but I don't know if Mark read it. Like, I feel like he would have laughed too. I remember being like, Derek, oh my gosh.
It was pretty funny.
I hope Mark talks about his ponytail holders of choice.
Because I'm curious. I'm curious too. I don't have enough for that, but yeah.
They've been so sweet to join all of our, I think the last 3 live chats they've joined, but something tells me, he's been so busy this week, something tells me they're not going to be able to join tonight. He did like kind of an all-day live stream on Tuesday, and I think he's been kind of live streaming off and on today too, so doing it all for a good cause, raising money for the University of Illinois charities, so yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So I agree with Al, Mark Finley. So Mark's here. Hey, Mark, welcome. Thank you.
Hi, Mark Finley.
Enjoy. Hopefully the burgers turn out well for you and your family. That sounds great. I made burgers a few days ago.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
Love to know, are you making them out of beef, bison, something else?
Beyond Burgers.
Beyond Burgers.
Oh, and hey, Gallivanting Gals. Great to see you guys, too.
Yeah, but I just wanted to, ditto Alan's remarks. Sorry to hear about your uncle and whatnot. So condolences to you and your family.
It's, any sort of loss, any sort of loss is always hard, but especially during this time is just jarring. It's awful.
Yeah. So, Megan, we have been getting carry-out almost every night to support local restaurants. Most of our fine dining have shut down completely. Yeah, so that's something that we're hearing about from a lot of fine dining, is that the fine dining restaurants are tending to shut down because it just doesn't fit with their business model. Especially when there's like sauces or certain things that just they don't think will transit well. They don't want to take any reputational hits. So we have a family friend who's down in West Palm Beach, and he was saying that most of his places that he likes to go to are kind of shut down because he likes fancy food, which so do I. But the places that he likes are kind of shut down, so he's a little bit limited in what he can get. That said, there's still a lot of great places to support that are, maybe a little bit, one notch down. And we were saying that Edda, which is a very nice restaurant actually, has just kind of totally shifted their entire business model, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah. And actually, one thing that I had mentioned, I think a couple weeks ago.
Dino's?
Yeah, but I wanted to say it again because this might be a new crowd. There's a pizza place in our neighborhood here in Chicago that
we've never been to.
Yeah, and it's actually very close to where we live. It shifted from, it's called Dino's. It shifted from making pizza in all of their ovens to, they still make pizza in, I think there's 3 ovens. I think they still make pizza in one of them. And then the other 2, they actually make plastic shields for medical workers now. So they manufacture medical equipment that's needed, like essential medical equipment, in their pizza ovens, which is just mind-blowingly awesome, in my opinion. And so because there's so many great pizza choices in Chicago, we had never really considered them before. But now more than ever, I'm like, oh my gosh, they have such a great heart. I can't wait to patron them when all of this is over.
Yep, never been there, but we will after all of this. Our neighborhood actually has a lot of good pizza places, so it's always been it's been difficult to figure out if we wanted to actually go get pizza somewhere, where would we actually go, because there's a lot of great choices. So
yeah,
and we don't typically go to pizza places that often.
Generally Chicago has great pizza choices.
Yeah,
it's such a huge staple.
We don't have to rehash the Chicago pizza scene again, but I feel like we talk about that at least one time every live stream. I'll just say it's very good. Okay, so
all right, we're falling behind. Let's catch up.
Do you ever go to Bulls games? From Germany Travel Personal Guide. Nope, I've never been to a Bulls game. Have you?
Funny enough, I've actually never been to a Bulls game either.
I've only ever been to a Pacers game.
I grew up here. I grew up watching the Bulls. I grew up watching Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen.
Everybody grew up watching. Well, everybody of a certain age grew up watching Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Rodman. That was the era of basketball. That's when I actually cared about the NBA. You had Karl Malone, you had John Stockton, with the Utah Jazz.
So you never were a Pacers fan? What was your family?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Reggie Miller had like him versus the Knicks were just like the best times ever. I still remember when he wrote his book, I Love Being the Enemy, and we waited in line at the Indianapolis Circle Center Mall or whatever to get pictures taken with Reggie Miller and his autograph in his book. So I still remember that.
So I've always been interested about Derek's family's sports allegiances, because his family grew up, like, Derek's never lived outside of Indiana, but there's parts of Indiana.
I've lived outside of
Indiana. Sorry. Derek
lived in New York for 8 years. I've lived in...
Apologies. I misspoke. Derek's definitely lived outside of Indiana. He lives here in his house.
She's kicking me out, guys. No.
No. He grew up like all throughout Indiana, basically, is what I'm trying to say. He was born in like the Chicago suburbs, but like the Indiana side. And so his family, some of them are like big Chicago sports fans, especially Cubs fans. And then...
Well, okay, so think about it. So I grew up in Indianapolis. We had a basketball team.
So you're born in the northwest suburbs, and your parents grew up there, which is like Chicago sports. And then I
grew up in Indianapolis.
And now his parents live outside of Cincinnati, but on the Indiana side.
Yeah. But if you think about that, I mean, Indianapolis we have no hockey team. We don't have a professional baseball team.
Right.
So, but we do have football and we have basketball. So, Pacers, Colts. But then you have to, if you wanted to have a baseball team, Cubs, because our family's all Cubs fans. And then if you wanted a hockey team, I guess you'd be a Blackhawks fan. But when I was growing up, hockey was never anything we really talked about. Everybody knew who like Wayne Gretzky was and stuff like that, and we kind of collected some hockey cards, but like. That was like an afterthought. We didn't even think about it. So
Derek's brother is also like a huge sports person,
yes.
And so it's kind of intimidating. I can imagine for Derek it was intimidating.
Well, he just like grew up memorizing stats. He was like as a child,
and he still does.
Like as like a little kid, like 8 years old, he would just like know all the stats. He'd go to the doctor's office. He'd know like whatever was like. He would know, basically, he would memorize, like, the back of all the ball cards, basically. It was kind of stupid.
And he still, like, to this day will just sit down and start talking about it, and he doesn't really, like, understand that other people are tuning out.
That's he just has, like, an encyclopedic knowledge of this stuff. And, it's funny, because, like, if it's on, we joke that if it's on ESPN, he'll watch it. Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter what it is, but he'll watch it, like... Magic the Gathering could be being played, and he'll watch it on ESPN. But
he loves it. He loves it. All right, we are really behind now. So Mark Finley saying, "Thank you, Alan." Oh yeah. Then.
So Alex is going to check out everything except for our delivered oysters, which we do not do.
I doubt that they deliver the oysters.
Okay, so Gallivanting Gals, welcome. Yay. You had 2 live streams and a Zoom party tonight.
Oh my gosh.
Trying to show everyone support.
Thank you.
This is our first live stream Zoom anything.
Yeah. And then thoughts on Tiger King? I fell asleep during episode 1, so let's
well, that's only because you have no taste in fine cinema. So
the way that I was talking with somebody about it who kind of like is similar to me in literally it's like I have such little time to watch things that if I don't have 100% interest in it, I'm just like whatever, like I'll fall asleep and everybody else can watch it around me. So Derek watched several episodes of it.
First 2 or 3.
Yeah, and I'm going to let him weigh in on the hot goss around Tiger King.
Better than I expected. It's very entertaining. I don't know. I found it interesting. I mean, you see people and it's like they're missing an arm. They have like 4 teeth and like, but they're like passionate and everything. I don't know. It's interesting. It's just very interesting and I mean, spoiler alert. I mean, I obviously know what happens, but I kind of want to see like how they tell the story of it and everything. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, at this point, I think we all know what happens. It's such a big thing in the world right now.
But what we did do beyond Tiger King is what we did do was, I think yesterday we sat down and we went through a list and we made like our watch list in both Netflix and in Amazon Prime, so that we're like, we don't even need to think about it. We can even just turn on the TV and be like, all right, go to our list. Let's just pick one from our list, and now we can watch it. So we can actually, I love how like somebody was saying that like the new pastime is just scrolling through Netflix and getting bored scrolling through Netflix trying to find the next thing to watch. So we just like made the decision. All right, let's like pick out things we want to watch and we'll watch them. So there's a documentary out. There's like a food documentary type thing like they have for wine, but it's on Scotch. So I think that one would be pretty cool, and it's supposed to have very good cinematography of like the Scottish Highlands and stuff. So there's a little bit for me, a little bit for her.
Yeah.
All right, so Mark is saying that he's 88 12-ground beef. Yum.
That's similar to what you really like.
Yeah, I like the 85 15.
Yeah, Derek's really into like the higher fat.
Well, not high fat, but like not.
But
super
not
lean.
90-10.
Yeah, not 90-10. I kind of want.
He gets a little like irate at the grocery store, and he's like, "I don't want 90-10. I want 85."
I have standards. Come on. And then Al, I think Beyond Burgers might be outlawed in Texas this fall.
Yeah. They're actually really good. So we didn't try Beyond Burgers until like 2 months ago. And actually Rachel, who I'm not sure if she's still on or not, she told me that they were really good. And I took her word for it finally, and we season it with Montreal steak seasoning, and they're pretty good.
Prefer regular burgers.
Yeah, but they're not regular burgers, but like they're a good substitute.
Yeah, it's fine. Megan Morris, this is so cool. Many of the bourbon distilleries in Kentucky are now making hand sanitizer.
That is really cool. I heard about that, and I heard there's actually a distillery in Chicago too, and people have been going and picking up like gallons of hand sanitizer. And I think people are even doing that and like picking it up for people who can't leave their house, because I don't think you can order delivery of hand sanitizer right now. And so there's like kind of this new market of people who will go pick it up from the distilleries and go deliver it to people in need. So I think that's phenomenal, and I really just love how industry has shifted in general. Whether it's distilleries making hand sanitizer, pizza chains making plastic face shields for the hospitals, anything. I think it's awesome to see the engineering excellence that this country can achieve.
So Brenda is saying Space Jam, which I agree, Space Jam, great movie. And then Mark is saying that his wife and he went to a Cubs game for their honeymoon in 1995.
That's so
and
great.
Harry Carey talked about them on TV.
Aww.
And we can find the video on YouTube, which we will probably go do next.
Yes, okay, you'll have to send that to us. That's phenomenal.
Cool. Yeah, Harry Carey is just
He's
one of those
legend.
like. Yeah, I mean, the fact that like there's a sports announcer that is like that just iconic, so iconic that he has like restaurants and stuff like Harry Carey's and stuff. Is that what we went for Thanksgiving?
I think we did.
We went to Harry Carey's for Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, it's really nice and good. It's truly remarkable, like the branding that guy was able to do. Him, and then like the only other guy that I can think of that is anywhere near him is the "Let's get ready to rumble," like the guy who announces like the boxing. Which, by the way, if you're ever like just want to like feel like what have I done with my life, look up how much that guy's worth. It's an insane amount of money because he's somehow like trademarked "Let's get ready to rumble" or something like that. So like if it like that is so iconic that they will pay out the nose to get him to be the announcer. It's insane. I think he makes like over $500,000 like per like.
We gotta get lucky in that way somehow.
It's awesome.
Galvanting Gals saying Wrigley Field is an awesome experience. It really is, and I know several people who that is like a Chicago bucket list item for them. I even have an old boss who was like, "Okay, well, I'm going to Chicago for a bachelor party." and we're all going to Wrigley Field because we have to. That's just the thing to do. And I was like, cool. And I did used to live a block from Wrigley Field. So I lived at Addison and Wilton, which is literally, so Wrigley Field
a hop, skip, and a jump away.
Wrigley Field is here. The Addison Red Line subway is right here, and then Wilton is like literally the next street over. So I was right at Wrigley Field when I was 22 years old, fresh out of college, and it was before I moved to New York to join him. And it was such a great place right out of college to live. I probably wouldn't go live there now, especially now that the Cubs are a little bit better than they were in 2010. But it was a really just awesome neighborhood. If there's not too many hotels in Wrigleyville, so I never really recommend people to stay there. They did open a hotel up there since I lived there called the Hotel Zachary right at Wrigley Field. And I hear it's really nice. So if it's in your budget and you want to be up there, that'd be great. There's great restaurants up there and just great bars and nightlife. So it's such a cool area of Chicago, especially if you're looking to have a little bit livelier of nightlife. Highly recommend.
Yeah, I've actually never been to a Cubs game.
Really?
So, yeah.
Okay, so we got to remedy that this year if MLB is ever back.
I tried. We did a Cubs game. We were going to go see a Dodgers game, not last summer, but the summer before with work. And so we got tickets to Wrigley Rooftops, which is, kind of along one of the roads.
Yeah,
two
a lot of
roads,
companies
actually.
rent out the rooftops around the stadium.
Two of the streets around the stadium have rooftops that can overlook into the field, so you can get like seats there, and it's like an open bar, all you can eat, things like that. It's actually a pretty decent deal. And you go, have a great time, and watch the game. But the one time I go, of course, the game got rained out, and then they were gonna maybe bring them out and like do the game, but then like they couldn't get the lights to work because they like prolonged it so long. So long story short, did not see a game and still have never seen a game. So.
Yes, Brenna, I totally agree. We have to fix that immediately. Derek has got to go to a Cubs game. I am floored right now because I've been to a Cubs game, but I just realized. So I went with family members when they were in town from Tucson, and Derek, I think we went at like a 1 p.m. game, so Derek probably couldn't make it because he had to work or something like that.
Real quick, Galvanting Gals, thank you for joining us.
Yay, thank you so much.
Have fun on your next live stream.
Guys, and we'll hopefully catch you on Saturday and Sunday too. But thanks for coming in. But yes, so definitely Wrigley Field is such a great spot to visit in Chicago. So one of the things that we all asked about right at the beginning, but I think a lot of people joined, but if you guys have any awesome road trip recommendations, places that you've loved to drive in the US or Canada, we wanted to bring that back up because we were thinking that talking about road trips on this live stream would be really relevant. We had a great time doing that on Sunday. Wanted to continue the chat, get anybody's road trip tips, because that's probably going to be the first thing that opens up, I would imagine, for the summertime.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, Eliz actually went through and did like a whole section of a potential road trip that she wanted to do, which said it would be 40 hours of driving, and that was only
no, it'd be
portion.
More. Yeah.
And then 40 hours was just one chunk that she was like, I can't add any more stops. And
yeah.
I was like, okay.
So, okay. All right. Tip number 1. I have learned that Google only lets you add 10 stops within a map, like when you're mapping out a road trip. So I started looking up, okay, well, are there any services that I can, for free, plan out the entire road trip that I want to do? And so I found an app called Road Tripper, but you would have to pay, I don't know, it's probably a pretty nominal charge, but you would have to pay in order to map out more than 10 stops again. And I'm like, well, guys, I really want to just see how many miles, how many hours it would be to do all of the stops that I want. So I ended up breaking it up into segments, but the entire road trip that I mapped out was from Chicago, basically kind of through to West Virginia with a little stopover in Cincinnati area. And then in West Virginia, I'd want to see the New River Gorge, which I mentioned on Sunday is closed right now, the state park, and that whole national river there. But in theory, this is all for when everything opens up. And then I'd want to go down to Asheville, down into Georgia from Asheville to Charleston, South Carolina, and then Savannah, Georgia, over to Atlanta, into Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, up into Kansas City, and then back into Chicago. So there's a lot on the list.
Louisiana.
Did I? I don't remember. Oh yeah, so I was gonna go down to New Orleans and then up to Natchez, Mississippi again, up through Arkansas to the Ozark National Forest, and then up to Kansas City and then over into Chicago. So it was going to be like 41 hours in the car, according to...
Plus, yeah.
Yeah, and then it was going to be like 2,500 miles or something like that, just for what I was able to map out. But it sounded pretty epic, and then I would be able to go into a lot of the states that I haven't been to yet. So we'll see if that ever pans out. We were talking about whether or not that's feasible, and if it's feasible even to do it with Derek, because...
that would be great.
His time is kind of precious. He doesn't have too many days off, whereas I can work from anywhere. But I'm curious if anybody's done that kind of area of the country, if they've enjoyed it, and if you have any recommendations. Megan's saying the Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia is great. I was looking into that. So I saw a Anthony Malchieri episode several years ago. It was not Hotel Impossible. It was like he kind of did this spin-off show where he highlighted 5-star hotels in the U.S. I think it was called like 5-star favorites, and he did a few different hotels that he highlighted, and one of them was that one. And ever since that episode, I have been dying to stay at the Greenbrier. It looked like such a sort of bucket list U.S. hotel to hit. I think right now it's pretty shut down. I was looking at it this week, like their website and stuff, but it would be pretty great to add that to the list too. It's kind of like in between the New River Gorge and Asheville. Totally agree with you.
It looks very old. I'm looking at pictures of it right now because I don't remember it, but
like a lot of
it definitely looks
have
very
stayed
like
there.
Old world, palatial type thing. It looks pretty cool.
I think and I could be kind of misremembering the episode, but it's basically like a lot of it was kind of built as like the people from Washington D.C. could get out there within a few hours and have their time in the wilderness on the weekends, and then come back to Washington D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And then Brenna's saying you can't skip Omaha on the way back. Well, you and Josh have to be there. Otherwise, we'll be like, where are we? Josh isn't here to show us around.
Yeah. You could probably do Omaha and like Idaho.
So Brenna is dating a very wonderful gentleman who hopefully can hear me speaking right now, who is from outside of Omaha. And I keep telling him, because Nebraska's on my list of the 16 states I need to get to this year, I'm like, well, I'm inviting myself to your parents' house. And I hope you're there. Because otherwise it'd be weird. Anyway, so then Alan A. is saying...
I don't know why in my mind Nebraska and Idaho are next to each other, but they have not. Wyoming in between them.
No. But we were talking about Kansas City, and I think that's why she was saying you can't miss Omaha. I think she's saying we have to go bebop up to Omaha before we cut over to Chicago.
Wait, to bebop?
Bebop. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then Alan is saying this is a great year for a road trip. Gas is really cheap. Exactly. I heard it's like super duper cheap, and we have to go probably fill up our tank immediately. and will stay that way while crude oil is in the $20 range. RV, anyone? So I think the gallivanting gals would have been like, hell yeah, but they just dropped off. They're big RVers and
Yep.
have some great RV tips. Katie Smith is saying Shenandoah National Park is beautiful, especially with the fall leaves.
Too bad.
Okay,
She was a big fan.
so I got to go to Shenandoah National Park in mid-October. I didn't actually go to the national park. We stayed at a cabin right outside of it, and went to like the wineries around there and stuff. But it was for a bachelorette party. And I remember calling Derek from driving around in the car and saying, "This is the most beautiful fall place
She kind of did, yeah.
I have ever seen. I'm so upset that you're not here right now, and we have to come back." And every year I have looked up how to fly from Chicago to Charlottesville since then, or in October, and every year he hasn't wanted to commit to a long weekend out there. So hopefully this year might be the year, because trust me, to anybody who's listening right now, if you go to Shenandoah National Park, which you can fly into Charlottesville, Virginia, and kind of pretty easily get to, in like mid to late October, the leaves are so stunning, and it's just like rolling hills, beautiful cabins, and wineries. It's just the most idyllic spot.
Yeah, she came back with a very nice bottle of, I think, Cabernet or something like
Yeah.
that from one of the vineyards. I don't think we've opened it yet.
We should. That'd be
I think
fun.
it's down in our wine fridge.
Yeah, I think there's
aging
like a
right now.
2014 or something like that.
Yeah, we probably need to start opening some of those wines. So after this is all over, when social distancing is no longer a thing, we're going to have a wine party at our place. You heard it here first, folks.
And then Brenna's saying, I definitely recommend the Blue Ridge Mountains in Georgia. Very beautiful place.
Sorry.
And climb Brass Bald to see 4 states at once. Interesting. So is that in like the corner of Georgia? I'm assuming it's kind of closer to the Tennessee border. But I would need to look up exactly where you're talking about. Oh, hi, Walter's World. Great to see you guys. Thanks so much for joining. We were literally talking about you earlier and being like, I don't know if they're going to be able to come on because Mark has been busy this week. But you've been doing such great work. It's really like applause worthy how awesome your charity work has been this week.
Yes, welcome. And by the way, couldn't find, same day delivery on a hat for my wine. So I apologize. So you'll just have to see me drink it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, he was like joking earlier that he was trying to track down one of those beer funnel hats so that way he could drink wine or whiskey for you.
Gotta be more efficient.
Oh man, Mark and Jocelyn, you guys are so popular in the chat. Everyone's saying hi. Love it.
Well, and Mark, just real quick from your chat yesterday, I will say that you recovered your voice very nicely.
Yeah.
We're very happy that, the tea was helping as you were doing the tea and the whiskey and everything. So that was all great. I didn't know what was going on until Eliz told me that you'd had that like 16-day marathon session. I was like, why is he not
16 hours?
16 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
Session, so that that's pretty amazing. So welcome back.
It's admirable and awesome that you did that. So tea and whiskey worked well. Also, next time if you ever do this again, pineapple juice can be really good.
Like while you're doing it,
like
it'll help like soothe it. Something about there's like a chemical in there or some sort of like acid or something that helps like soothe the throat. So it's supposed to be healthy.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't gone and seen Mark's channel and his Professor Walters channel, he has been posting some really great live streams this week, all mostly to benefit some University of Illinois charities. So wanted to give that a shout out to go take a look at it because it's a lot about like principles of marketing and how to develop great social media content. So I think it would be really cool to watch in your quarantine spare time.
Yeah. And actually, so real quick, because I think we missed it earlier, but Al was asking about our thoughts on the 1-year anniversary to the Notre Dame Cathedral fire, which was yesterday.
So.
And I will say that Eliz actually made a post about it yesterday, in the day prior, from the last time when we had been to. I think those were pictures from when you and I had climbed.
Yes, they are both pictures from 2016 when the two of us got to go to the top of the Notre Dame Cathedral at sunset,
which was awesome. And
which, I mean, thank God we were able to do that, and have those epic
memories,
photos and memories.
Yeah, and so I will say that I remember when it happened, and because I remember I was at work, I was sitting there, and so I have like BBC News on my phone, and it came up, and I was just I think I like cursed out, like I yelled a curse out loud in my office. Probably dropped an F-bomb or something like that. I was just like shell shocked by what was happening. I was like, I can't imagine, like, there's so much like bad things that happen in the world, coronavirus or things in, just human tragedies that take place all the time. But like something like this where it's just like such a cultural treasure for a place was just such a, I don't know, it hit me pretty hard when it happened. So it's pretty tough.
So I just want to read what Mark just said because I had a very similar experience. Marcus and Jocelyn are saying we were there in July and October, and we could see the differences in what they had been working on at Notre Dame. President Macron was saying that it was repairing nicely, and I agree with that. I actually was also there in July and then at the end of September of 2019. So I was really lucky because I had joined Derek in November of 2018 when he was in France for work, and the two of us went to outside Notre Dame twice.
Mm-hmm.
And we never went inside during that trip, but we made it a priority to go and take photos while we were there, and it was both during daytime and nighttime. So we were really lucky in that way that we were able to see it before the fire, and then I was able to see it twice after the fire as well, last year. And it certainly was incredible how much people rallied about their love of that structure and came together and were trying to repair and rebuild as best as possible. And you could really see definitely a huge difference. And there's a difference in between July and September of what even was being blocked off, like what you could see. So I thought it was really cool to see the evolution thus far. I did read that as of the coronavirus, of course, construction has stopped, and really it should. There's no reason to prioritize it, even though in a lot of places construction hasn't stopped, including here in Chicago. But I think just the general fact that they are really working hard to allow for the rebuild is great. I also think that just it kind of gave both of us that takeaway as people who travel a lot and as tourists, that like nothing's guaranteed. And if there is something that you really desperately want to see, something super iconic or just a place that you want to see, just
carpe diem,
as much as you can and as much as it's affordable, just go while you can.
To quote Robin Williams, "Gather ye rosebuds while ye may." I think he was quoting somebody else, but he's the one that I think of.
Megan Morse is saying the owner of LVMH, which is Louis Vuitton, the third richest person in the world, donated $1 billion to the Notre Dame restoration, which, I mean, that's awesome. Hopefully people are going to be donating to the restoration of, like, after the Amazon fires and the Australia fires too.
Well, that's the thing, is that, there's a lot of stuff that's where a lot of people had some issues. Was Notre Dame gets like billions and billions of dollars, but then like the Amazon fires like got a very tiny percentage of what Notre Dame got, and people were a little bit insulted by that. But so this is the last picture I took at Notre Dame before the fire, and you can see the spire was still there. But
so beautiful, Derek.
It was a beautiful day.
And Katie Smith is saying she was there in February, and it's all gated off still with guards, but there is a nice wall detailing their restoration project. So that's interesting you say that, and it was gated off more, I felt, when I was there at the end of September than when I was there in July. And I think, personally, I thought it was because of like the phase they were in with construction. But in July, I was able to kind of take a photo with myself without any sort of obstruction with the front facade. And then when I went back in the fall, there was a white construction wall blocking it. So something to take into consideration if you are planning to go to Paris for the first time, whether or not it makes sense to go now or wait until there's a little bit more work that's been done on Notre Dame. And also too, I've heard a lot of people talk about London in that way, where Big Ben has been behind scaffolding for a couple years now, and I believe it's through 2021 that Big Ben is basically going to be behind scaffolding. And they have it so I think they rotate the scaffolding so like at least one side, one of the clock faces is visible, but you never really know which one it's going to be. And I think if that's something that you want to see desperately, that's like your bucket list item, you might want to wait till 2022 to go to London. So that way, not only can you take great pictures and see Big Ben in that way, but also too, I find that it's very visible from the London Eye. So if you're in the London Eye, which is such a fun experience, by the way, as long as you buy your tickets online and have it not waiting in line once you get there. I really find it really cool that you can see so much of London, including a really awesome view of Big Ben. Anyway, so Katie Smith is saying, very good point, Derek, about the fires receiving little attention in comparison. Yeah. And it's just, it's funny how people feel so connected to certain things and then so distant from others. Megan is saying, great pick, Derek. He's not here right now. Should I wait to read it until he's back? But yeah, you love Notre Dame and Notre Dame University's campus. Okay, Derek's on his way back, and we definitely have to talk about the difference between Notre Dame and Notre Dame University because he's from Indiana, and I
hear it's shaped like a boot.
All right, so I was just reading Megan Morris's comments. So she said, good pick, Derek. I love Notre Dame and Notre Dame University campus, and the replica of Notre Dame
I went to in Quito.
Yeah. So Derek, when we were in college and both studying abroad, we met in Paris one weekend because he was in Sevilla in Spain and I was in London. We met in Paris. And it was the first time he had ever seen Notre Dame, and we went, I think it was Easter weekend. I don't know, but it was definitely like on a Sunday we went, and it was like during one of the church services. And Derek like loudly is like, oh, I've always wanted to go to Notre Dame. And I'm like, oh my God, get me out of here. I'm so embarrassed right now.
I wasn't trying to be an ugly American.
No, it just came out. It was just like words.
Yeah, words came out of my mouth. I couldn't believe it. So I have moved on to hard seltzer, Truly. Now, as a in my third year as a Chicagoan, I would typically only do White Claw, since that is actually from Chicago.
White Claw is from Chicago?
Yes, we've been over this.
Fascinating.
But yeah, no, unfortunately, Costco does not carry White Claw. They carry Truly, so.
Yeah.
But I will say, so.
And we are on a budget right now when it comes to our Costco runs.
Oh my God, we spent so much money at Costco this last time we were there. It was amazing. So what I will say is that Notre Dame, the university, is very beautiful and worth a visit.
Yeah.
It's one of the prettier campuses I've been to. Doesn't hold a candle to Indiana University, obviously, but
Indiana is sometimes voted #1 prettiest university in the country.
But what I will say is that Notre Dame is very nice. It has a grotto. It's got some cool churches. They have a basilica there. It's It's all very pretty. So if you get a chance, definitely go there. Catch a football game. It's pretty wild. So.
Sorry, I just read. Okay, so Mark is saying, if I put any B-roll with video of Big Ben on London videos, people get really mad. Like, how dare I show Big Ben when it is covered in scaffolding? It's crazy.
Well, I will say London has so much scaffolding. Like when we were there in our.
I mean, Europe does really.
Well, but so I was just thinking about it. Like the last time you and I were in London, I took a picture, and it was in the fall of last year, I think, right? When we were there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember I took a picture of the skyline with.
We were there in November.
So I took a picture of the skyline with St. Paul's Cathedral in the background, and I was trying to get a cool shot because there's a lot of like great foliage and fall colors and everything, but it was kind of like ruined by just how much scaffolding there was everywhere, and I had to figure out a way to get it out of there, and I was actually able to like find a cool little app on my phone that I could use to like kind of remove the scaffolding from it, but unfortunately something like Big Ben is not going to work.
Mark and Jocelyn are very judgy about you for that though, because they're like, you're not being an honest traveler.
It's a picture.
Derek loves like all of the tech behind being able to edit people out of photos, and like there's a lot of apps that like long exposure kind of lets you. I don't
necessarily edit people out so much. Like I'll do like a long exposure, which will smooth things out and whatnot. But like removing, I don't like to remove things too much. But if there's like something that's like getting out of the way and it's like not a good picture anymore.
You took an awesome picture. So when we were in Las Vegas a year ago, he had me stand on the corner and stand really still.
And I was like, do not move.
He's like, don't move at all. And then all the people around us were moving and all the cars were moving. And so all the people got blurred out. And then all the cars, all you could see was their headlights, like turning and driving by and everything. And it was just a really cool image. And I was like, wow, this turned out so well. It's very artistic. Okay, so then Mark was saying Derek is just smooth. Oh, let's meet in Paris. Let's meet at Notre Dame. I know that I had to read that right. Okay, and then Derek is like, LOL. Voted #1 campus in the Bloomington Gazette. Lols. No, it's USA Today. It's more like #1 campus in terms of beauty because of the Indiana limestone. So like all of the buildings around campus are built in a Gothic architecture style with Indiana limestone, because Indiana University looks really European, and it takes a lot of like, I guess, influence from European Gothic architecture. So it's pretty that way. I fell in love with it when I went. I went to University of Illinois and Indiana University the same weekend, because I got into both and just fell in love with Indiana.
She's fancy. But
Illinois is a phenomenal school. I actually would not exist if it wasn't for Illinois, because my parents met at the radio station at University of Illinois. So I cannot fault that school whatsoever, because my life depended on it. All right, so Megan Morris, if you like seltzer, you should try High Noon. It is made with vodka instead of malt liquor and is low calorie, but has no fake sugar.
Nice. Well, that's cool. I'll just try it. High Noon.
Derek sometimes does the keto diet too, where he is super low carb, so that would be a good.
Honestly, guys, I need to get it back on keto. It's getting bad. I'm like baking breads and stuff. Like it's
he's been like a whiz in the kitchen. He baked really good chicken tonight too.
All right, so Mark Finley, he bought a 360 camera and a DJI gimbal, which we have one of those.
Nice. We have both. We have a we don't have a 360 camera. We have a
for my Europe trip. Now I hope to get to use them someday. So we have the DJI gimbal, which is actually pretty cool. It's like really nice for like taking like cinema like.
I'll actually get up during this live stream. I've never gotten up before.
I was gonna say like something like cinematography, like very nice epic shots.
All right, so basically, these are super cool because the way that it's described is you can put your phone, or if you buy one that has a camera or something like that, or for a camera, it makes the footage super smooth and like movie level quality. So you can take panning photos that just don't move. So there's no Blair Witch Project effect, basically. No, it's not charged.
That would explain it. But basically, it would work where it would like kind of hold it at this, and it would always be level no matter how it would have like a gyroscopic arm. It's kind of cool.
Sorry, I'm just reading all the comments coming in.
Highly recommend it because you can like pan and everything, and it's like stable, which is very nice. So.
All right, so. And I know granite from Indiana was used to build the Empire State Building. Actually, I think you're right there. I went, okay, so when Derek was first starting in finance in New York City, he literally never, ever got any time off. He worked Saturdays and Sundays even. And so his family all came out to visit us in New York. And it was a Saturday, and Derek could not attend with us. But all of us, including me at the time, decided we were going to go to the Empire State Building. And
I don't think I ever went to the Empire State Building.
No, because that was the only time that everybody in your life went that we weren't there. And so I remember distinctly learning this because they were like, "Oh, we're from Indiana." Like I can't believe that they brought all the building materials.
Well, it's world-class granite. It really is.
Yeah.
And that's why. So if you go to Indiana, they call like locals the cutters. And if you ever watch the phenomenal movie Breaking Away,
which my friend in London, she messaged me, I think it was on Saturday, and she's like, "Have you ever seen Breaking Away?" And I was like,
phenomenal. Phenomenal. Great movie.
But apparently Breaking Away can be accessed on Amazon Prime during quarantine, and people are watching it.
Oh my god. We're doing that tonight. But it's a great movie, and it's about like the big bike race in Bloomington. So in Indiana hosts every year a giant bike race. I don't know, probably didn't happen this year.
Probably was canceled.
Was
Little 500.
It's called Little 500. So to take on the Indy 500, but it's on bicycles, and they do a bunch of, I don't know exactly how far they go, how many miles they ride, but it's basically it's a team race around the track. Mostly fraternities, sororities, and then there's independent teams.
Local teams.
You have to be part of the university to do it, but
Bloomington should totally sponsor us, they say.
But it's a very cool experience, and it's like the party week at IU. So IU is considered like a party school, and that is like the biggest like time for us, where it's basically like the Thursday before the Thursday of the week leading up to Little 500 until like the Sunday of Little 500. So it's like a lot of days, and classes are kind of like maybe you go to class.
I think
maybe you don't.
I think we need to like hit these as they're coming in because they're really important. Hoosiers is also a phenomenal Indiana movie.
Gene Hackman.
Yeah,
right?
That's a good one. But Breaking Away I think it like was really a big hit. It was released in like 1979 or something.
Well,
like that.
it's more about who was in it.
But
it's a young Patrick Swayze, I think.
But it's one of those movies that's like feel good, sports movie sort of thing. And then Megan Morris is saying, I just want to make sure you answer this question. Isn't A Christmas Story set in Indiana?
It sure is.
This is like Derek's favorite Christmas movie.
Well, I don't know if I would say that. I would say that it's the movie
Mark
that's
Finley
on
says it's set in
every
Cleveland.
single, but it was shot in Hammond, Indiana, I think.
You told me it was shot in Hammond, Indiana. So.
But the house is outside. I think that it was supposed to have taken place in Indiana, but up in northwest Indiana. I think there's like some piece of the movie when they get the flat tire is the whole thing. But yeah, no, that's a great movie. You shoot your eye out, kid. Phenomenal Christmas movie. It's on every single year, like nonstop. I think like I don't know if they still do it, but at one point in time they used to play for like 24 hours in a row on Christmas on like TNT or something like that. So yes, it's great. Alfie,
Megan Morris is voting for Home Alone, which is also a Zacarias household favorite.
Real quick,
but he also loves Hallmark Christmas movies.
All of them.
Derek is obsessed with Hallmark Christmas movies. So, discuss.
Because I'm human. But I will say, Breaking Away has a 94% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which is pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And 91% on Metacritic, so that's phenomenal. But yeah, so it's I
think it might be set in Cleveland, but
Dennis
filmed
Quaid.
in Indiana. I want to address the conversation at hand. A Christmas Story. Your family always
I don't know yet.
would say...
So real quick, Daniel Stern is in Breaking Away. He's the guy who plays Marv in the Home Alone movies. So he's in Breaking Away, so you get to see a young him. And then Dennis Quaid is one of the other guys in it. So check it out. Very cool movie.
So I just want to transition real quick while Derek answers this question about A Christmas Story to travel-related Christmas movies. Specifically on Hallmark Channel this year, we watched Christmas in Rome. And it was with the brunette from Mean Girls and like this other Hallmark guy. And I really enjoyed it because it was about a Rome like local tour guide falling in love with an American tourist.
I liked it, and plus the dude from it, the main guy, is from one of the shows that you like.
Yeah. He's a Hallmark hunk, if you will.
Sorry, that was funny.
Megan saying yes to Hallmark, but only during December. What about like the fact that they're playing all the Hallmark Christmas movies now, though? Are you watching them?
Healthy part.
And then Mark Finley saying they have boxes of fudge because fudge. Daniel Stern plays the dad in A Summer Story, a non-canonical continuation of Christmas Story. Did I say that word right? So a bit of Home Alone, Christmas Story connection. Mind blown. That's amazing. And then I'm just backing up a little. Clodhopper in Terre Haute.
Yep.
By the way, has anyone been to Terre Haute? Because I have.
It's the armpit of Indiana.
So
okay, real quick. I went to a Taekwondo tournament, regionals. I got second and third place. So all right, so real quick. So the film is set in Homan, Indiana, a fictionalized version of Shepard's hometown of Hammond, Indiana, which is outside of Chicago. So
Derek
Hammond,
is
Indiana
very close to
is
Hammond.
Very close to where I'm from, and I have a number of family members that live out that way.
Thank you for your chiming in. I was wondering if you were still on this chat, and I'm
Terrible
so pleased with so I didn't have to say it out loud.
But if you're from Terre Haute, I will say
Derek has a wealth of
too.
film knowledge, by the way, usually.
Yeah. All right, so 24 Hours of Christmas Story on TNT, so that's good. I mean,
awesome.
It's phenomenal, right? So,
has anyone been to New Harmony, Iowa?
No.
No.
What is it? Is it?
I've only been to the eastern part of Iowa. Indiana. New Harmony, Indiana. Still haven't been there. But we've been a lot of places in Indiana. I don't even know where that is, so I'm surprised.
So I like that Mark's saying that he has 3 or 4 Christmas Story pajamas.
Oh, that's awesome!
Isn't that like he comes down like as like an Easter bunny?
I like that Eric Brown's just like, hey guys. Hi, Eric Brown! We're talking about everybody's pajamas now. Just kidding.
Or lack thereof. No, I'm just kidding.
No, please don't talk about that. Good night, Mark. Speaking of pajamas, good night. Air hugs to you guys too. Thanks so much for joining, and we look forward to seeing you guys on Saturday.
Yep. Thank you for joining, Mark. It was great. Tell Jocelyn and the kids we say hey.
Yeah. So. Especially Liam. He was on a hoot yesterday. That's for
Liam
sure.
was funny. So Mark, before you go, if you're still there, so Eliz had chimed in on your team like, I don't know. How do I?
I don't know how to moderate.
How do
Liam.
I moderate this? And you talked about, you hit the 3 dots and stuff. And she was more concerned about Liam's like interjection during the live stream that was hilarious, and that was a golden moment.
Yeah.
So definitely go check out their live stream from yesterday. It was hilarious.
All right. Well, have a good night, guys. Thanks for joining. It was really fun to have you. All right. So some people sent to Jocelyn a screen capture of them laughing.
We should have done that because we were cracking up. We were just like, I was
like,
oh my God.
Because we were moderators, we were like too concerned about all of the things coming in. And we were like, I'm sure Mark Finley had the same worries. Like, are people going to say anything? But I think everyone just found it hilarious.
Yeah, it was
so
great.
you guys made our night funny. All right, Liam is watching this live feed and he is laughing. Yay! Hi, Liam. Amazing. All right. Well, thanks guys for joining. Hope you guys have a good night.
Yes, thank you.
I'm sure everybody who didn't see this last night was like, okay.
What's happening? So, all right. Eric Brown, though, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We've been talking about Christmas movies, I guess.
We were supposed to talk about road trips, and I feel like that never ended up happening. So we could talk about road trips still. Mark's saying, I stare at the feed like a hawk. As soon as I look away, someone does something stupid. I know. And then if Derek walks away, because sometimes Derek's like cooking or something during it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, now I have extra pressure. But thank God Mark Finley's here with me.
Well, Mark, you're on it. Like,
Mark.
Sometimes, really I click on something, and as I'm clicking on it, I feel like you click on it too. So, like, you
must be on a laptop or something because you're really quick about it.
Yeah. I find I struggle with like typing like conversations and stuff with people in the feed, and then like I have to like catch up real quick, and by the time I catch up, you've already caught up. Yeah. On any malcontents.
You're so good at it.
Yeah, miscreants. All right, so Eric, wait till the streams get bigger and you start having trolls. That will not be fun. I don't know.
We've been really lucky so far to not really have trolls. I feel like this is kind of like
our first troll.
This is our good crew. We have a great group of people on so far, and all of you guys are so kind and chatty, and we all like talking about the same things. I mean, what could be better? This is great.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
What I will say is that like there is like I feel like a certain point of pride when you get your first troll because you're like, oh, I made it. Like, I got my first one.
I don't want our first troll.
In a live feed, it's like, oh, they really care, when they come in for that. But I will say that Liz had a few comments in her videos over.
My dad says he's going to try to behave.
He'll try not to be a troll. That's good.
Thank you.
Al's like, what a dweeb. Stop being mean. No, but Eliz had a few comments that are trollish, over the last year or so, and
I even had. I mean, I have like weird emails and stuff too, but for the most part, people are super nice to me so far on YouTube, which, knock on wood, I'm sure that's going to change at some point. Yeah. But it's been really great to connect with a lot of like-minded people on my channel so far and build this community. So I feel super blessed with what we have going here on Means to Travel. I just realized that Eric Brown was like channeling his inner Yoda when he says, and you start having trolls, that will be fun not. I like that. I like that. By the way, does anybody watch The Mandalorian? Because Derek.
Baby Yoda.
Derek would love to talk to you guys.
I just want him to say something.
How does YouTube work with moderators? Do people need to approve the comments? So, it's more of like YouTube. This is what I've gathered, and Mark Finley can totally probably speak to this better than us. But there's every so often YouTube will be like, this comment seems like it might be off color, so we have to approve it as moderators. But most of the time,
there's probably like certain emojis and words and stuff that come up that need to be
get flagged. But most of the time, things just go through, and then as things go through, it's important to just like monitor and make sure nobody's saying anything bad.
And sometimes the things that get like caught up in like the needing to approve are just like fine. There's nothing wrong. But
on my channel, and I'm sure Walter's World has this too, there's a way to like ban certain words. Yeah. So before I even started my channel, I in my comments banned like all the curse words. So that way I knew that at least it would stay fairly positive. So I think that's helped me develop, a little bit nicer comment section than some people might have. But that's nice that YouTube gives you that opportunity to do that.
Which Mark is talking about, that they have a pretty good word filter built in.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we didn't know anything about moderating until we became moderators on, Mark and Jocelyn's stuff, and that was, we're like, oh, what do we do? Oh my God! So like,
and now I feel like I can't leave. My eyes are glued.
Yeah. So I take point from Mark Finley and see what he's, what are the types of things that he's kind of like, moderating and whatnot. So we follow your lead, sir, and thank you very much for being a good beacon of what
and
to do.
Michael Mann's great too.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, and then Mark said I did that for 14 hours on Tuesday.
Holy cow! You moderated that?
I knew they mentioned that you were on that, but I didn't realize you moderated that the whole time. You deserve a round of applause for that. Seriously,
slow clap.
I mean, you found some really great people to help out. That's for sure. But I mean, that is a long time to be moderating. Hopefully, you enjoyed the whole time though, because their live streams, whether they talk about travel or about marketing, are just really great.
Yeah. So Mark is saying though that he's got a pretty good rig. So he's got the keyboard in his lap, mouse on the arm of the couch, watching the TV in my den as a computer monitor. So he's got like the whole thing going. That's pretty cool.
We actually stream the live streams on our TV as well, and then we'll type on our cell phones and stuff. But you
can only type so fast with your thumbs.
Yeah, and I feel like I get a lot more typos basically on my cell phone than I do on my laptop. So it's a trade-off for sure. Yeah.
I do wish that YouTube actually in like the comments that you could do a little bit more around replying directly to a comment, so it would like automatically at somebody. So like, say I wanted to like reply to Eric Brown, if I clicked on that, if it would just automatically say like at Eric Brown and then go, I think that would be pretty cool. I wish that kind of functionality was built in, but
yeah,
just as like a commenter in these live feeds.
That was me kind of cheersing myself. Sorry about that.
Ting ting ting. Because what I would say is like the lifeblood of a live stream really is like the comments and like you guys all interacting with us as we're, because if not, we're just talking to ourselves and we're crazy people. But what we would love to have is where you guys kind of like interact with each other and like are talking about different things. It would be, that's kind of our long-term goal with these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it'd be awesome to get to what the Walters have built, and that's definitely a goal of ours. But I think we're really grateful for what the community we've been able to develop just generally during this quarantine. Most of you guys we didn't know before 2 months ago. So trying to find that those positive vibes during the quarantine, it's really great to connect with all of you guys, learn from. I mean, most of you are really great travelers, and we would be delighted to learn from all of your adventures too, and hopefully trade info and just become the best travelers we can be. Derek and I are not. I was just talking to Rachel about this earlier today, actually. Like, Derek and I are not the most experienced road trippers, but I feel like I want to start looking at what road trip content I can create. And so I've been wanting to figure out what everybody's opinions are on the best US road trips, there are best Canadian road trips, because that's definitely going to be the hot topic, I think, this summer once things start to open up a little bit more. And I am lucky to have, such a great community of people surrounding me, of people that like to travel and can give me great tips, even if we're not frequent road trippers ourselves. I guess I'm giving myself too much flack a little bit because I have road tripped a lot. It's just been more like in very certain places, and so like the long haul road trips or like the RV road trips I haven't been able to do as much.
Yeah, so what I would say is that what I like about these live chats, like everything that we're doing here, is that, I like to connect with people over, travel, photography, trying to go to places and like meet up with people for example, we met up with a great guy who comes to these occasionally, Graham in the UK, and that was awesome where we had met him through Instagram because it was photography with the UK stuff,
and he was able to give us some great tips.
He gives great tips about like London photography and like sunsets and where to go and everything. And so like that's how I kind of interact with people, is around photography and going places and meeting people in places, and hopefully trying to find somebody who can show me around whatever city I'm going to be at to kind of get some cool shots.
Or even like,
but it's been fun in this scenario to be able to like meet people and meet more people that are, while we might be distant physically, we can kind of like talk and share things about what we want to do, accomplish with our travel goals. And it's great.
If I may interject, like even like Megan Morris, for example, I know you're in Kentucky, but like you've traveled everywhere. You probably have so many great spots to recommend to us, whether it's in Kentucky or beyond. So I think it's really cool to be able to interact in this way and understand what all you guys have experienced. Like, I think we have some great recommendations too, and I don't know if we've even touched on all of them in all of these chats, but we can all share the wealth.
So Al is saying that I think that I would like that YouTube to add the ability to like comments. That would actually be pretty cool.
You mean comments in the live stream, I assume?
Yeah.
Because you can like comments on people's videos.
But within the live stream,
yeah.
I assume that's what he means. And then Mark is saying that Terry is a huge help, and she watches the stream for him and helps keep him focused, which is good. We kind of do our own thing where like suddenly she's like paying attention to her own thing, and I'm like, hey, this is fun. She's like, not, leave me alone. I'm talking to somebody.
Okay, I'm gonna have a girl moment here. So sorry, everybody. But I have to answer Megan Morris's question.
Oh, Lord.
So she said, I recently watched your T3 travel flat iron video, which is one of my older ones. You mentioned owning the travel hairdryer too. Any thoughts on the hairdryer? It is literally my favorite hairdryer. I use it as my regular one. I use it every single time I dry my hair, regardless of if I'm traveling or not. The reason why I fell in love with it, there's two reasons. First of all, for travel, it can fold up to a compact way, but it also is dual voltage, so I can use it abroad. When I have used it abroad, I put it on the lower setting because it in Europe gets like really, really strong. And I'm still a little bit worried about it blowing, even though it probably won't. It just is like, you can tell there's a difference in the voltage just by the sound that it makes and like the intensity. The actual drying itself, it's super speedy. And like my hair is really long, especially right now during quarantine. So any blow dryer that works really quick is, a godsend to me.
Although your hair's still not like this is not the longest your hair's been.
No, I
Not
donated
by
my
a lot.
hair. I cut off like 10 inches 2 years ago and donated it right after we got married, but it's getting there. I started. I haven't gotten my hair cut since November. I think I mentioned this before on a live stream, and it is getting critical.
Yeah.
Brenna and I actually go to the same hairdresser, and she got her hair done like right before quarantine started.
Me too.
And I got mine done 4 months before quarantine started. So we're in a different spot.
Yeah, I got my hair cut pretty soon before quarantine, like right before we went to Amsterdam, and that's been good because it's not like as shaggy. Like I've been way. Like back in college, I used to grow out my hair a little bit. Like I was just lazy and wouldn't get my hair cut. But
hey there, To Travel and Tour.
Definitely
I
need to
know
get
I
it
saw that you guys recently joined the community, so welcome. I'm so glad you joined tonight.
hello, To Travel and Tour. That's fun. I'd love to hear a little bit about your name. Tell us how you came up with it. That's pretty cool. So what I will say about her like T3 stuff is that that video was sent as you had already used their product, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've been using the blow dryer for years.
And then they offered to what did they send you a product?
No. You're misremembering the difference between the two hair.
Oh, you just bought that?
Yeah, that one I bought. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she bought that one and just enjoyed it, thought it was cool, so she put it out as like a video.
Well, I thought it was really important to do a video review of it because it is a travel hair tool and a lot of people only want to bring one. And what I did during that video was actually curl my hair with the flat iron, which a lot of people know how to do. Sorry, we'll move on past girly stuff really soon. So what I was able to show is that because it's so compact and small, it creates really, really, really tight ringlets. Yeah. And so it's that trade-off of like, okay, this works on dual voltage when you're anywhere in the world, and it's a fantastic flat iron, but it might not be one of those dual tools so in case that's the thing that you need, then it might not be the thing. Yeah.
So Eric Brown is saying that he fried an air mattress in London and he learned his lesson. So yeah, be careful with that dual voltage stuff.
Yeah.
So Katie Smith asked, "Where did we meet?" We met in our hearts.
No, we actually met when we were 18. At freshman orientation at Indiana University, which I think is a huge part of why
I haven't left her alone since.
Why Mark from Walter's World was saying we should be sponsored by Bloomington.
And we bring up Bloomington and a lot of live
I know.
It's beautiful. It's a great place.
Yeah. But anyway, so yes, we met when we were 18.
So here's what happened.
No. Let me say. So it was during Welcome Week when
I was a dashing young man.
It was during freshman orientation that we met, which was in June, and then we didn't start college until the end of August, and so it was like right when Facebook started, and so this is 2006.
We have
and so he added me.
Things that happened.
So he added me on Facebook, and then we started messaging with each other just about school and stuff like that, and really connected. And then when he moved into the dorms 2 days before me, so by the time I moved into the dorms, he offered to help me move in, and my parents were like, "Who the heck is this guy?
Who's this dashing young gentleman?"
But yes, so he ended up being my husband. So I think they're okay with him now.
And he like being my husband. Yeah, so here's what actually happened. So
No. Let's just...
We met at freshman orientation. And I guess so we were both in the honors college at Indiana University as part of the business honors program. Or maybe it was just the regular honors college. And so we were part of that. And I guess I had asked like 2 questions. And in her mind, that made me weird.
It made him a huge nerd.
I was a big nerd. And she's like, you asked a lot of questions.
You asked multiple questions
during
orientation.
So later in the day, I didn't meet her. I didn't even know that she was there. Because she didn't ask any questions.
I was not.
I asked 2 questions. So later in the day, we were at a thing. We were in an auditorium, and I was like kind of like looking around, looking for. So we went to Indiana University, and I had a lot of friends that were going to Indiana, but I wasn't sure if any of them were at orientation with us, and so I was looking around to see if I could see anybody that I knew.
We have other questions to answer.
But one of her friends who was with her like noticed me looking around. I was like, "Hey, you look lost," and so we all started talking. And Eliz says, "Oh, no, I noticed you. You're at the honors thing. You asked a lot of questions."
And all of my friends that I was with, by the way, I just met like that day, and so that they were trying to like talk up Derek basically, and I was like, "Oh no, I already know who he is. He's that nerd from the business orientation."
What I'd like to think is that I made an impression, and. But yeah, so like we met, and long story short, her name is Elizabeth her maiden name was Elizabeth Armstrong, and the professor that was presenting to us had the same name, so it was very easy to remember her.
Yes.
And we friended each other on Facebook.
No, he went home and friended me because I had no idea what his name is.
I friended her on Facebook. Then my girlfriend and I broke up. And then she started messaging me.
Which is still debatable.
I think we can go to the record sometime.
We can roll the tapes if we want to, but we never have. And now
we're married. Now we're together.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, Katie Smith said she met her husband at freshman orientation too. So, yay!
Well, I will say that it was the best orientation of my life.
Yeah, it better be. Okay. All right, we have a couple of questions to catch up on. So that was where we met.
So to travel and tour. I asked you guys about your name, and you said that we thought it would be a good idea if our name would say something about both who we are and what we love to do.
Yeah, and that's awesome. I think you guys really nailed that too. I came up with Means to Travel as kind of a play on the word means. And so the tagline behind it is meaningful travel and the means to get there. So what I really try to focus on is making sure that everything that I talk about is actually a meaningful tip, and talking about how to achieve your travel goals. Yeah. So Means to Travel. And then Derek took my name. His Instagram handle is Mr. Means to Travel.
My joke being that she took my name in marriage and I took her Instagram name.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And he's found wild success from that. So
I will say that, yeah, much better success with that than my own name, which was kind of just like, why would I follow this random dude on Instagram?
Yeah, no, Mr. Means to Travel is it's a good handle. You should go check it out. He has really good photos.
Shameless plug.
All right, so then, since we tend to have different opinions, yeah, that's really cool. It's truly to traveling. That's
cool.
That's awesome. So I assume you guys are a couple traveling around. Awesome to connect with you guys. We can't wait to check out your channel as well. Yeah. Because I know that we just connected really recently, but really cool to have you on. So hopefully we can talk more.
I wake up for sunrise. She does not. I like taking lots of pictures.
You were asking yesterday on the Walters World chat about sunrise.
Yeah.
And I think
all right, here's a
you
quick
and
question.
Mark can go wake up at sunrise together.
For different reasons. Yeah, but no, quick question for everybody. So, like, what do you guys, do you guys, like, wake up early? Do you guys do sunrises? Anybody can answer this. Like, I found, on our honeymoon in South America, so we honeymooned in Argentina, Uruguay, and Chile. And every single morning on our honeymoon, except for when I had food poisoning, every other morning I woke up for the sunrise. And she did not. She didn't wake up for any.
I have regrets from it, but not strong regrets, because I definitely
because she still has the pictures
sleeping.
from when I did it.
Yeah. Sleep is good too.
Sleep is good, but I was like, this is like our one chance.
Argentina, and this was in my video that I just posted yesterday, which, by the way, go check out if you have any interest in just like learning about Argentina too. I interviewed our friend Clarissa, who was an expat in Argentina, and then had to urgently fly back to the U.S. after the coronavirus outbreak. And her saga of getting back to the U.S. is fascinating. But what I want to say is that the Argentina lifestyle is very different than the U.S., where like in Argentina you would literally eat at like 9 or 10 at night, and then
or
you might
even later in the
even later.
weekends. It was like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just part of the culture there. And I know that in like Spain and stuff like that, in Europe, that can be the same as well. So one thing to really keep in mind when you're in Argentina is that you're going to be up a lot later than you might be used to. So we were always eating dinner like way later, and then Derek would wake up for sunrise, and then take a nap basically after that. And that's just not something that I was capable of doing in
But
the same way that he
I
was.
caught
So
some phenomenal sunrises when we were in Colonia
Yeah,
del
we did.
Sacramento in Uruguay. Like the sunrise there was just like beautiful, and like I'm sad that I didn't share that with her, but like it really was one of those moments where like I can remember that with like very much like very vividly,
Yeah.
and it was phenomenal.
And you're part of a Chicago photography group called Art of Shy, that they do a lot of sunrise photography meets. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
They have their own handle, and they feature all the Art of Shy members there, and it's a very massive Instagram community. But anyway, so they'll invite Derek and sometimes me to these sunrise meets, and so you'll go up like in this private tour basically of the John Hancock Building, 360 Chicago Observatory, or like
Sears
the Sears
Tower,
Tower, North Avenue Beach sunrise. And so Derek's been able to really capitalize on the access that he gets from those, that being a part of that Chicago photography community.
Well, between that and also like the sunset like cruises on like the river and like on the lake, you can get some like pretty cool stuff here in Chicago, which is really great. What I would say though is that when it comes to like sunrise, sunset, like what do you want to do? Sunset's great. You're competing with a lot of people for space though. If you're looking at the two like in comparison to each other, at sunrise there's a lot less people that are willing to like wake up that early and go and do those things. I found that a number of times like sunrise is the only time I've been able to go do things. So for instance, I was flying through Hong Kong last year on business, and my only opportunity to like get out and like do some photography was at sunrise. So I think I landed, it was during the protests in Hong Kong, and
but it was like before they were really bad. It was
so it was in between
early June when he was there.
Yeah, so it was in between. It was they had just had the weekend prior, they just had like some like major events where like organized crime had come in and kind of acted as muscle potentially for the government to like kind of like beat protesters like in the subways and things like that. And so the protests were pretty extreme like in the airport, and then but it wasn't to the point where it's like shutting down business in the airport, which was the following week. I think like a weekend later they like shut down the airport because of how intense it was. So I was flying through, and I stayed one night in Hong Kong because I was like, all right, I'm going to stay one night and I'm going to fly the next day back to the U.S. And, you know, because I was flying back to the U.S., it was kind of like I want to say it was in the afternoon sometime when my flight was, so I knew that I had the morning to myself. And so I set my alarm for like 3:50 in the morning or something like that. Had an Uber come pick me up. I like got it so it would come get me anyways from the hotel and take me to like Mount Victoria, where I like then hiked up the mountain a little bit, took some sunrise photography, and it was like a phenomenal experience and very much worth it. But if I hadn't woken up and gone to do the sunrise, I never would have gotten any of that, you know, potential to actually see Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And
It was
now we need to go
beautiful.
back.
One of your top performing photos on Instagram in 2019
Yeah.
for sure. And he really wants to get that framed. Do you guys do like do any of you guys hang photos around your house that you took while traveling? I'd be curious to hear because we're really considering, of course, once the photo printing becomes more available after all this quarantine is over, it'd be really cool to be able to decorate our walls with that.
Yeah, we have. I mean, like the good thing is we have a lot of wall space in our place now, and finding something to like hang on the walls.
I just want to point out that like everybody else on this chat is saying that they're like sunset people, die-hard night owls here. I'm into it.
Nobody wants to go to sunrise with me.
Nobody's going with you. Everyone's sleeping in with me.
I will say, so like, there's one guy here in Chicago who's pretty cool, and you should go check out his work. He's early riser, Ted, awesome guy, and it's like early, but instead of an
But we also live in a place that sunrise is better than sunset because on Lake Michigan, if you're trying to take a photo of the sunrise over Lake Michigan, like over the water on the horizon and stuff, you're going to be looking east.
Yeah.
And then like if you're on the west coast, for example, it's California, sunsets for sure.
Although I will say like the sunsets in like California can be like very, very quick. Like that's one thing that I didn't have. Like they can like it goes one of two ways. It's either there's not like a medium ground. It's like either they're over quick or they go like and burn for a long time. Kind of depends on what the cloud cover's doing.
So we can have some really good burners here in Chicago, but
there's some great sunsets here in
but
Chicago.
New York
actually
has really good sunsets. We used to live.
You go to Queens.
We used to live in Long Island City in Queens, and our apartment overlooked Manhattan, and we just had beautiful sunsets for the 4 years that we lived there.
Yeah, which is phenomenal. New York. If anybody's looking for like a good like city within the United States to go visit and like do some cool stuff, New York's awesome. I would say that the number of times that we've been there since we moved to Chicago, New York is a very cool place to visit. I would say that when I lived there, I was kind of
it's the hustle and bustle that they talk about.
Yeah,
sure.
I liked it, but at the same time, it's kind of like why would I
I just want to answer a couple of questions, too.
Okay.
I love you. He's gonna rave about New York for another few minutes.
Real quick, I'll just make it very, very quick. With New York, I would say that New York's a phenomenal place to visit. With living, you can get kind of like caught up in the hustle and bustle, like Eliz said. But when you go back there and visit, and it's like you eat like bagels, like in the Flatiron like district, and like that's a beautiful thing. Like that really is really cool.
Okay, so top bagels in New York for everybody. Essa Bagel in Midtown, H&H Bagel. What's the one that starts with Z?
The Z?
Yeah. Z.
No idea.
It's not Z-Bars because that's the whatever. There's one right by the Flatiron District that starts with Z. You guys should go to. Those three, phenomenal. Okay.
But mainly Essa Bagel.
I also miss bagels because we have like a bagel shop in our neighborhood, but it's been closed.
Are they closed?
Yeah, they're closed. They're closed.
Okay, so all right, it all worked out. Great photo. Thank you,
so
Eric.
To Travel and Tour says, when were you guys in Amsterdam? Me and my wife were there not an awful long ago to visit family. I was born in Richmond. Okay, so let's be friends. Okay.
Where are you from? Are you from Amsterdam? Are you from Eindhoven? Are you from?
Let me speak. Okay,
Haarlem?
So we were in Amsterdam in mid-March, the week before
the week of the travel.
Yeah, so we were in Amsterdam March 8th through the 13th. Because I think we had to fly back on Friday the 13th.
Yes.
By midnight, according to the travel restrictions. But my grandfather grew up in Amsterdam, and I was actually really eager to go there. And we were debating whether to go there because obviously the coronavirus had become a little bit of a thing by the time we decided to go, and we decided to keep our trip on the books because I really wanted to research certain family history elements. So my grandfather actually grew up in Amsterdam. And my great-grandfather founded, or was one of the founding members of the Ajax soccer team. And so we were like looking at different just family history while we were there, and wanting to see some of the old houses within the city that my family had lived in, that sort of thing. So Derek and I had been there. So I had been there once before this trip in March. Derek had been there for work a few times without me.
And we'd been there together.
Yeah. Yes. So we had been there together in 2014. But love Amsterdam, and I'd be very curious to hear what you guys experienced in the Netherlands as well.
So the Netherlands is great. We went there this last time, with everything that was happening with, coronavirus and whatnot, but, everything was still pretty much open while we were there, so it was nice. We went to, like, Albert Cube Market and everything like that. We went to there was a place near the center of town that's kind of like a food market. Actually, if you're into Walter's World, if anybody, watches that, which a lot of you guys do, but one of the YouTubers that he talks about is Dutchified.
Yes.
And Dutchified has some great content around Amsterdam and whatnot. He's a big foodie. He eats a lot of stuff. He's in great shape for the fact that he eats a lot of food, but go check out his stuff because he has some great content around like different things to check out.
We followed so many of his recommendations around Amsterdam,
and it was totally worth it.
Yeah.
It was super good. But within Albert Cube, we did like stroopwafels, and we ate like herring. That's where we got the herring.
So we were supposed to on that trip go many other places other than Amsterdam, but by the time that we were there, Amsterdam was one of the safest places to be in the Netherlands with COVID-19.
Yeah, most of the cases were down.
Most of the cases were in Utrecht and below, geographically. So we were supposed to go to Rotterdam, Utrecht, Maastricht,
Cologne.
and then Cologne, Germany. And the case level at that point was much higher in those cities. So we ended up just extending our trip in Amsterdam a little bit longer, and then flying back early once we were forced to.
Yeah, we got there on a Monday and we flew out on a Friday, so we were there for like 5 days, less than 5 days.
Yeah, we were there for 4 nights.
Which was sad because we
a lot shorter than we were supposed to be there.
We had planned to be there for about 10 days, so our trip got cut in half, and we had to kind of like flee and get back. But at the end of the day, like, even though we didn't need to come back because and this was an interesting thing, was like we'd met with a number of Americans in Amsterdam in our hotel actually, who were planning to just kind of like stick it out in Amsterdam and like keep their original plans, because the whole thing was that you could still fly back as an American.
As U.S. citizens, you're supposed to be able to still get entrance into the U.S.
Now, the problem, though, which we found out later, was that, if you come back, you're then going to be routed through, like, specific cities, and that made it harder because then it would make it harder to, like, social distance because immigration lines were, like, much longer. So we're very happy that we kept our original, like, idea of coming back before the thing came into place. Yeah. So,
and I'm just gonna hop real quick to answer Megan's question about Amsterdam. Did you guys get bikes in Amsterdam, or did you just do public transport? So we would have considered getting bikes because it is certainly the best way to get around Amsterdam. However, we felt like it was a little bit more of a risk because I guess we brought like Clorox wipes and stuff with us, so we could have done that. But we ended up mostly doing a lot of walking because the streets were so empty compared to how they had been in previous trips because there were so many fewer tourists. But we took several trams. And the reason why we took trams is because you can get on without really even touching anything. And again, there were a lot fewer people, so you weren't like... it wasn't like a New York City subway, a normal New York City subway where you're like next to somebody and like, oh, sorry. So it felt a little bit more, it felt safe. And obviously we came back and we were fine. We quarantined for 14 days and neither of us had symptoms. And so now we are fine.
Yep. So what I would say though is that public transit is very easy within Amsterdam. Like the trams and whatnot are very very simple to use. And very very efficient. But before we get to that, Terry Finley is saying that one of the ministers that she works with is from Argentina, and he brings back great candy when he goes for business.
Awesome. I hope he also brings back alfajores.
Alfajores are phenomenal. Oh my god, I love those.
Those cookies are so delicious. But Argentinian candy is really good too because they have so much good influence from like Italy, Germany, and Switzerland in that country. A lot of immigrants from those countries went to Argentina. So
in the late 1800s, yeah.
Those immigrants have particular preferences on chocolate and good ones. Like they want their chocolate to be really good. So Argentinian chocolate's really good as a result.
Yep, that was great. I think they're going to go like have a particular set of skills.
They do. I mean, they make really good chocolate.
So Eric Brown is saying that one time I was in Chicago, I went to the top of the Willis Tower, aka the Sears Tower.
Nasty foggy
and it was
day.
very foggy, so only got clouds.
Oh.
So that's a bummer.
We had the same experience at when we climbed Mount Snowdon in Wales, where we most of the way up it was really nice and sunny, and then all of a sudden when we got to the top, the clouds rolled in, and you couldn't see a darn thing.
That was a bummer.
Rick Steves promised that we could see Ireland from here. And we can't even see our own hands, so...
Rick, if you're watching, we still love you. Rick's not watching, but if you are, we love you. What I will say is that,
Bye, Mark Finley. Bye, Terry Finley.
Hey,
Thanks so
Mark
much
Terry.
for joining.
Thanks for joining.
We'll see you guys on Saturday. Oh, for
It'll be
sure.
great. What I will say about, doing the whole Mount Snowdon or whatever is still enjoy it for what it is, get the experience, the history and whatnot. Sometimes even with a cloudy day you can get cool experiences here in Chicago with whether it's the Willis Tower or 360 Chicago, because if you can get above the clouds you can get some pretty cool shots. But
oh yeah, Derek's gotten really cool shots where he's in the top of the tower, and then the clouds you can only see the tippy tops of the buildings. Those are cool, but not when there's tons of fog.
It kind of reminds you of Star Wars, sitting in the clouds type of thing. So it's pretty cool. Okay, so Katie Smith is saying that the only time I've done sunrise is in Angkor Wat. Which is awesome.
I don't know. Again, I don't know if
bad.
Rachel's still on, but she just went to Angkor Wat at the end of February, and I was so jealous. It's supposed to be the most beautiful place. So you doing sunrise there, Katie, makes total sense. I hope you had such a wonderful time. Still here.
Okay. Tell us about your experience. But what I will say is that Angkor Wat is one of those places that is with if you take my if you distill down my must-see places within the world, it's Angkor Wat, God, I don't even know. It's Angkor Wat. It's
South Africa.
Petra. Petra is definitely on the list.
We both want to see Petra.
Oh my God! Within the Middle East, that is top, tippy top of my list of places to go to, and there's just a lot of places to get to.
Yeah.
So. But I did not realize Angkor Wat's a place for sunrise, so that'll need to think about that.
So Travel and Tour are saying that they were in the Netherlands from the 10th through the 19th of March, and we could have walked past each other. We totally could have.
Did you go to Avocado?
Did you go to... So we went to...
Avocado?
Avocado Show. The Avocado Show.
Did you go to the Avocado Show?
We were at the Anne Frank house on the 10th. I believe, and that was when we were the one time that we were in a situation where it was a little bit crowded, and weren't coming out of that situation. We were maybe we shouldn't have done that,
Yeah, that was a
And
long
then
place.
we went to the top of the 8M Tower across the river, or across,
Which I felt
into North
fine
Amsterdam.
about. She was getting very
I
nervous
got really
there.
nervous because my family started kind of like freaking out, like, you need to get home. And
I
we
was
did
like, stop
that.
reading your text messages.
We did that on Thursday night, the 12th.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful view. And if any of you guys go to Amsterdam, I highly recommend doing that because you can have a wonderful view of
Beautiful
basically
sunset.
like the entire country from up there. Plus, you can buy like the ticket that gets you 2 free drinks when you're up there too. And I was surprised to see that the drinks were actually like reasonably priced and like good quality. Because like at the top of like the Willis Tower, for example, like if you get a free drink, you're like expecting it to taste kind of crummy, but in Amsterdam, I think they would get a little bit of flack if the wine wasn't super good or something like that.
That was fun. Okay, so Megan Morris is asking, what is a tourist destination or activity that you're embarrassed to admit doing?
That's a great question. Hold on, let me think about that. Do you have one? We certainly have them. No question. I've never been to like a Madame Tussauds or anything like that.
No, I've
but
not done that.
I think there's got to be something that I did when I studied abroad, for example, where I just didn't know any better.
I mean, at the end of the day, I find that a lot of like tourist activities are kind of like the reason you do it is because it's fun to do. And we did like, all right, so like one example would be we did the hop on hop off bus
in Glasgow.
But like I'm not embarrassed that we did that. I mean, it's a cool way to like see the city, kind of anchor yourself to what's around, and figure out at least the lay of the land.
Yeah.
What do you want to go back to? What do you want to see more of, and go from there. So while that's like a very like touristy thing to do, like I'm not embarrassed to have done it. I actually think it's like a great way to like first like get your like lay of the land in a new city.
So one thing so one of them for me, I guess, is that I don't know, in New York you kind of like have it's not that I'm embarrassed about it, but it's like there's certain food things that you want to do. Like I really wanted to eat like a New York pizza or something like that, and because I lived there, it felt embarrassing. Like, oh, I want to go to like Little Italy for ice cream, and so I actually we got on the subway and went to Little Italy for gelato when we could have easily gotten ice cream right by our apartment, and so there's certain things where you're like, okay, I need to.
Well, and
she's asking if we've ever been to an ice bar too. We have not. I feel like there's something probably that we've done that's really embarrassing. Okay, and it's probably in Paris. I also so we.
It's probably in Paris.
Oh, you know what? Here's one. Okay.
So what did you do?
You were there.
Oh.
So when we bought the Paris pass, when we went to Paris and...
Oh, that's not embarrassing. That's a great story.
No, it's horrible.
You should all go there.
Don't. First of all, it's not even open anymore because it's so awful.
It's not?
So the Paris pass used to give you access to the sewer museum in Paris. It was the worst experience not only I've ever had like traveling, but maybe like ever in my life. You literally walk into an open sewer and they try to make it seem meaningful, and it was like poop running down a river, and you are walking along it and they're like, okay, this is like really ancient river poop, and you're like, I need to go. Like, wow. This is not okay. So that was not only embarrassing, but it was nasty, and I hated it. I also I'm not a huge fan of the catacombs, but I know other people are.
So just real quick, the Musée des Égouts de Paris is closed for renovation until 2020. It's still
so people
around.
Actually want it to reopen.
It's going to reopen. So, but what I will say,
it's also stinky. Like
It
it's
is-
not
it
like
is
it's an
kinda gross.
eyesore,
Okay,
and
alright,
it's
alright.
also stinky. Like it overwhelms the senses.
Okay. Calm down. What I will say is that it is stinky. It's kind of gross. It has a scent, and just be prepared for that. But it's kind of cool. Like you go, you see a plaque, it's like, commissioned by Napoleon or something, like that, and it's like, oh, there's a lot of history here. And it's like, you don't think about that. It's like, how does human waste like leave the city? But it's kind of gross.
I don't think about that in my own city.
A buddy of mine, Dustin, recommended it, so we went. It was part of our Paris pass. It was free for us, so I was like, we gotta go. So we went. She hated it, and let's just say we skipped the gift shop.
Yeah.
So there's that.
And yes, there was a gift shop.
There was a gift shop at the end.
At the
We did not.
museum.
We did not stick around.
All right, let's
We're
move
like, let's
on.
go.
Because this was a horrible memory.
We decided to go to Giverny instead.
Yeah.
Which smells like flowers.
Travel on Tour says we went to the Rijksmuseum.
The Rijksmuseum is great.
And the Vondelpark, both on the same day. Then everything started shutting down. So we spent most of the remaining time at my parents' home, which that's
really
great
nice
that you
least
were
have
able
family.
to have that. Yeah. So my grandfather and like the family home was right on Overtoom, right outside of Vondelpark, and so we were over there, and everything was still open when we were still there. But again, we left on the 13th. So you guys were there a lot longer. I'm glad you were able to make it back to wherever. And I'm curious, where do you guys live, by the way? Where were you able to make it back to?
Yeah, are you in the U.S.? We're in the U.S.
Yeah,
It'd be cool to understand.
Elsewhere in Europe. But yeah, I mean, the remaining time in your parents' home, I think we're all trying to stay safe at this point.
Yeah.
And the fact that you were able to see your family during that time, it's going to be meaningful no matter what.
Yeah, I do remember
Katie
that.
Smith, thank you so much for joining.
Yep.
It's been awesome to have you on, like literally the whole time. So thank you again.
Thank you for joining
and
us,
hopefully
Katie.
We'll talk to you super soon.
What I will say though is that the Rijksmuseum is a really cool place. If you want to go and see like Dutch masters, like Rembrandt and all that kind of stuff, it's a phenomenal place. And what I really like about it is that they have the those like tunnels that lead underneath. That's like people ride their bikes through, and it's like it's very cool. I like
awesome building, and then the works of art in the Rijksmuseum
and
are
they
phenomenal.
used to have really cool stuff where it was like they used to have the I Amsterdam like thing out front, but I think they've moved that since then. But it used to be out front the last time we were at the Rijksmuseum. It was pretty cool. And the beauty is that if you go to the Rijksmuseum, it's actually very close to the Van Gogh Museum, so you can actually do like both in the same day if you wanted to, which is pretty cool.
We were really trying to go to the Van Gogh Museum when we were there, but there was like an issue with I think the time frame that it was like the tickets were available and stuff like that. So Eric Brown says, I get embarrassed when I screw up my ticket to get a metro or subway or buying the ticket on the machine with people lined up behind me in a hurry. Totally. I do too. I think that's a universal kind of, like, you feel a little bit of stress behind it, but it's totally understandable. And I think what's great is obviously you speak English, and so a lot of the, like, metro stations around the world, even like when Derek and I were in China, for example, have an English option. You just kind of have to navigate to it, but they're all different. So when I was when Derek and I were both working in New York, you're kind of like used to during rush hour being able to, go through the subway really quickly, fill up your card really quickly, and then a tourist might annoy you or something like that. And so then you have that kind of like empathy towards the locals when you are a traveler yourself and trying to figure out the system. That being said, I think don't give yourself too hard of a time, because honestly, like, it's a very normal human nature to be figuring out the sequence and the user flow of a metro station, whether it's buying the ticket or navigating through it, and it's a thing that we all travelers kind of have to grin and bear, but we're all in it together, To Travel and Tour says, you guys live in Western Pennsylvania. Awesome. Okay, so like, I assume kind of Pittsburgh and south, with that answer. So, okay, cool. And interesting that you call yourself a Dutchman too. Did did you grow up there, or just have your parents live there? And then Megan Moore is saying, did you guys go to the Banksy Museum in Amsterdam? We have not, but you know what's interesting is I was just seeing today that Banksy is posting during quarantine about like, the artist is like creating all of these like quarantine pieces of art in his house, basically. And so one of them that he posted was like, in his bathroom, I believe. You never know with artists, but like it looked like it was like in his bathroom, and it was like, he had painted kind of rats on the wall, kind of climbing around and causing mischief, with like squirting out the tube of toothpaste and like climbing into the mirror and stuff like that, which is just like, it's just so creative what those street artists, especially famous ones like Banksy, can do. I thought that was just a cool thing to see he's doing it in his own house. I assume he's a he.
Or a she, we don't know.
Or she. We don't know.
But what I will say about like rat art.
I don't think I showed you this today. The Banksy like art that's being posted.
So but if you're interested in rat art,
no, please, no.
Check
I don't know
out,
if any of you guys watch John Oliver.
Check out John Oliver.
John Oliver's last 3
week
episodes.
Tonight. Last 3 episodes is quite enlightening. It's very good. Check it out.
John Oliver became obsessed with this one piece of rat art that he had to like track down.
Rat erotica.
If you guys aren't into John Oliver, it's okay too. Derek just thought it was hilarious.
I find him amusing. I like it a lot. But yeah. All right. So wait. So I missed that. To Travel and Tour are in Western Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm. So I was saying like probably like Pittsburgh or south of there.
Yeah, I got a buddy in Pittsburgh who works for Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yeah.
Good dude.
Yeah.
Gotta get out
Great
there.
Town.
So, yeah, it's actually
Great
a really
city.
cool town. It's a cool city. Which we haven't really spent any time in.
Mm-mm.
So
We'll need to get out there.
Yeah.
But they're also saying they went to the Rijksmuseum and spent a lot of time. Yeah.
Tumblepop.
Very funny that we were there at the same time. I'm really glad you guys were able to get back. We had quite an adventure getting back from Amsterdam to the U.S. on the 13th.
Yeah. What was the name of the...
Megan, I'm glad you knew what we were talking about.
Yeah. Thank you, Megan, for knowing exactly what we're talking about.
Actually, that rat art is in Pennsylvania, I believe.
Actually, I think it is in Pennsylvania. That's really funny. No, so what was the name of the...
So they're saying that at this point they've lived in 5 different countries and have been in the U.S. since 2013.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's so cool. 5 countries is a lot, by the way. But you've been here now for like 7 years, so I don't know if it feels like home yet or not.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, all right, sorry. What was the name of the cemetery that we went to in Amsterdam?
Yeah, good question. Let me try to pronounce it by looking at the word. Hold on.
So one of the bigger cemeteries within Amsterdam.
My great grandfather had been buried there.
Is the one where a number of her family members had been born, or not born, interned, buried. So we went there while we were there the last time to see if any of them still were there. Unfortunately,
De Nieuwerster?
De Nieuwerster.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, none of them were still there because we didn't quite understand, but we'd kind of heard about, was that the way that the cemeteries work within Amsterdam are a little bit more, it's almost like a lease basis. So you pay a lease for a certain number of years, and then it kind of comes up for renewal, and you either need to pay again, or they kind of get taken out and moved somewhere else.
There's a little bit of a mystery actually behind. So my grandfather had been paying for my great grandfather's grave plot for like 70 years because He had died when my grandfather was a teenager, and my grandfather died 10 years ago, and all of a sudden nobody knew like what happened to the grave, and I think because in the Netherlands, like most of the graves get turned over really quickly, even though we had volunteered to continue paying for the grave, it just kind of like got turned over. So I was very disappointed to learn that when I went and visited the cemetery last month, but because I was told that the grave is still there. But that happens, and luckily we still had a wonderful, wonderful time in Amsterdam, doing a lot of family research and fun sightseeing. Derek got to take his photos at A.M. Tower, so it was such a good time. We stayed at a really cool hotel too, right in the Canal District.
It's on the second canal?
Yeah, we look forward to going back to Amsterdam as soon as we can.
Yeah, no, Amsterdam's a great town, and not the best food, but the street food's really good. I really like the fried food.
We also ate some Indonesian food at a place.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, delicious.
The Indonesian food in Amsterdam is phenomenal. Highly, highly recommend it.
Eric Brown, I agree with you. Amsterdam 2021. We're going back.
Why not?
Yeah.
But, it's one of those things where people always ask us, they're like, where do you want to go to next? What's like the next place you want to like visit? And we kind of want to go everywhere, so it's kind of hard for us to like narrow it down to where we want to go to next.
Even the places we've already been, we'd love to go back.
Yeah, and we were just talking about Wales the other day. It's like, we'd love to make it back to Wales.
I feel like Wales should sponsor us too, the Tourism Board of Wales, because we talk about it all the time. It is such an underrated place to visit. Everywhere in Wales is phenomenal, but we particularly loved the North Coast and Snowdonia National Park. Yeah. It's so beautiful and cultural. And we have great recommendations if anybody's going to Wales ever.
So Megan Morris is asking for favorite Michelin restaurants. So getting fancy, but favorite Michelin starred restaurants. So
we went to one in Edinburgh that was great. What was that one called?
The one in the basement of that hotel?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
It was in the basement of the Balmoral Hotel in Edinburgh. I can't remember. It was like
it was like
the actual address was the name of the restaurant.
Yeah.
So that's why it's kind of hard to remember the name particularly. I think it was just like 1 Prince Street or something like that.
That place was fancy.
Yeah.
Like very nice. Like seriously, like if you have a chance, if you're in Scotland, like the Balmoral Hotel is like one of these like iconic buildings within Edinburgh. That place was really good.
Yeah.
Very like.
We used to live in
one of those like write home to your family about it. It was a phenomenal experience. Like there were like people there who were like, you're way more fancy than us.
We used to live in Long Island City in New York. So like Long Island City's in New York City, but it's like the first neighborhood in Queens outside of Manhattan, and it like overlooks Manhattan. And so there were 2 Michelin star restaurants there. We actually lived across the street from one, and this is the most like New York-y thing you'll ever hear. But like the place across the street from us was a Québécois, which is like Quebec, like French Quebec, restaurant, but it was built into a converted auto body shop, so it's still on the outside of the restaurant.
It looked like, it was an auto body shop.
Like an auto body shop, and then on the inside of the restaurant it had been converted into a restaurant. And so the funny thing was, like, if you read the Yelp reviews, it was like people saying, I pulled up in a taxi cab when it was pouring rain and I could not figure out where the heck I was because I thought that they had dropped me off at like an auto body shop in Queens, and it was a Michelin star restaurant.
But if you know where you're going, it's very
right.
easy.
If you knew it,
it's on the right hand side of the building, but it's very nice. We went there a couple times when we lived, across the street over 4 years. But there's another place. It was a Mexican place that's Michelin starred, and it's one of the cheaper Michelin starred restaurants in the world. And I want to say it was like $5 guacamole, and like you get a taco for $5 or $3 or something like that. And so it was very like it was like a taqueria type place, and we loved it. It was called Casa Enrique, and it's owned by a restaurant group that has two places. One place is called Cafe Henri, which is like a French place, and the other place is Casa Enrique. And the whole thing is like a play on the name of the dog of the owners, which is I think like Henry, so it's Cafe Henri and Enrique, and it's very nice. So I highly recommend that place. Very good. As you were saying, what's the name of the place in the Quebecois?
I'm blanking. I'm gonna look it up while you keep talking.
So the Quebecois place in New York is like really good too. Highly recommend it. So within New York, like it's like dime a dozen. There's a bunch of like Michelin starred places, but the place at in the Balmoral in Edinburgh is called Number One. Very good. Highly recommend it. It's very nice. And then, if I think back to like
M. Wells Steakhouse.
M. Wells Steakhouse
is the other Michelin star restaurant that looks like an auto body shop.
Like the letter M and then Wells.
Yeah.
Very nice. And it used to be like in like an old place. So M. Wells Steakhouse is like a new place. So Long Island City, Queens is like evolved quite a bit over the years. And before we moved there, it was a little bit more industrial and whatnot, but there were a couple of places that were like kind of like shining stars within the area. And M. Wells used to have, actually they have a place called M. Wells Dinette, which is within the PS1, which is the Museum of Modern Art like annex that's inside Queens. So that's a place that was a couple blocks from where we lived, and they always had a bunch of like really cool art exhibits and whatnot. There was an old public school within Queens, and they run like the dinette, so it's like the the food hall within that place, which is like really nice and like worth going to and whatnot. But the main restaurant was across from our place, and it was awesome. Highly recommend it.
So I just want to circle back real quick. So To Travel and Tour says, by the time we left for home, Schiphol Airport was completely abandoned. Oh my gosh, that's totally different than our experience. I found it shocking. I grew up with this airport, and never once before had I seen it that quiet. We made a video about it. I'm going to watch that video ASAP, because when we were there, I actually felt, so we were there on the 13th of March, and I actually felt uncomfortable because there were so many people there. And I mean, it was the day that like basically Europe was closing. So I'm sure there was just a lot of people there compared to when you left on the 20th. But so you must have left like literally an entire week later. But what was fascinating was I just felt like it was almost too difficult to avoid people. And I'm pretty good. I'm pretty small too, so I can like kind of like maneuver myself away from people. But there was this one point at customs where it was completely impossible to not stand like shoulder to shoulder with people, and that made me super uncomfortable. And I was wearing I think, were we wearing masks at that point? Actually, no. I don't think we were, because we were going through customs and they need to be able to see your face. Luckily, again, we came out healthy. But that's fascinating to hear, because even when we were standing in line, like waiting to buy breakfast at the airport and everything like that, it was really crowded. So it seems like there was a huge 180 week over week there. Rachel says, too many places in the world to go, no time for second visits. I think that's the second time you've said that on these chats, and I totally understand that sentiment. And then I think, so To Travel and Toured, Darian from Germany, Travel Personal Guide, is saying that's a cool name. And I agree. Both of you guys have really, really cool names. And I think really represent who you guys are presenting to YouTube and to the world.
So Eric Brown is saying, I love London, Prague, Rome.
He did London, Prague.
Oh, I did. Sorry. I did London and Prague.
Rome,
Paris 2 weeks back in February. I'm hoping 2021. Dublin, Amsterdam, Berlin, and one or more
for 2 weeks.
And one more for 2 weeks.
Awesome.
That's really cool. So like Dublin, Amsterdam, and Berlin, that would be like really easy to do with like in like inter like continental flights and whatnot, that would be pretty simple.
It seems like you're really into the urban, like bigger cities too.
Yeah.
So that's good to know that about yourself. Rachel and I actually went to Ireland for like an entire week and toured all around it and had a great time. And I think that was a really cool way to see a lot of the different culture around Ireland. And I hear, despite the fact that I have not been able to do this either time that I've been to Amsterdam, even though we were supposed to this past time, I hear that the Netherlands, you can experience a lot more Dutch culture by going outside of Amsterdam too. Derek's been able to do that through work.
Yeah, we were supposed to go to. So our idea was to do Amsterdam for a little bit, and then like go out to Haarlem, and then down to what's the name of the city?
Eindhoven.
No, not. We were never going to Eindhoven.
Oh. Let me just interject while Derek's thinking of that. Because you're kind of working your way eastward, one city that I would love to go to, and if you're already in Berlin, might be a little bit easier, is Gdansk in Poland. We specifically really want to go to Poland. Derek is part Polish. He's part everything.
Jak
really.
się masz.
Derek is like... Derek is the largest mutt you'll ever meet. When you pull up his, like...
That sounds so bad.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, no, I'm an American mutt. I am, like, they took a thing and they shook it up.
They took the world
and that's what I was.
and put it and made Derek. But he, like, got his 23andMe results back, and, like...
the whole world lit up.
Yeah, you get this map of the world of, like, where you're from, and, like, they'll color in where all of your ancestry is. And Derek's ancestry is from literally the entire world except for India and Australia.
Yeah, there's like this like weird like there's like Australia nothing obviously because like none of my family's from Australia.
No.
And like India and then just like north of India like there's like nothing there. But China, most of Africa, Europe, South America, and, like Mexico and everything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm everything, so it's really fun.
Yeah.
And that's one of the fun things for me is like going and experiencing like the family history is always fun. Like we've done a little bit of genealogy stuff. I know her dad Al has done a little bit of stuff, and you know that one of the things that people ask a lot of times is like, where should I go for my first time? You know, going to a place, going to Europe or wherever. And one of the things I really like to hear from like Mark Walters and some others is like, think about your family history and like where your genealogy is from, and like go to those places because it can actually tell a lot of things about like, you know, oh my god, my grandma used to make this dish, and after going to Germany it now makes a lot of sense because like that's the type of food that they eat there. And
totally.
Now it all is like starting to like click and like the puzzle pieces are coming together. So like
that happened to me in Amsterdam when we the first time we went. We were just sitting at a bar in the Canal District, but it was like a locals bar, and we were sitting outside just listening to people talk because we were exhausted from walking around, and all of a sudden my ears kind of perked up because even though I couldn't understand what everybody was saying because I don't speak Dutch, I was like, holy cow, this accent is the first time I've ever experienced anybody else in my entire life sounding like the accent of my grandfather. Because you don't meet a lot of Dutch people in the U.S. I certainly had not. And my grandfather was the only person that I had ever met who grew up in the Netherlands until then. And all of a sudden, I was just like, wow, their inflections, the way that they pronounce words just felt familiar. And that was a really cool way to connect with what we were experiencing.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. So just getting out and seeing the world. So Megan Morris is saying that she's been to the Mexican place.
Nice. Oh, you've been to Casa Enrique. It's so good.
So good. It's in Queens. It's relatively affordable. Highly recommend it. So
I always ordered the enchiladas or the tacos.
The mole is pretty good too.
Yeah.
I would say like, you know, it kind of depends on like what you're used to with Mexican food, but you know, my family's particular about Mexican food because like we're part Mexican. That's where my last name is from. And they're not the biggest fans of like change around that kind of stuff. So like, they weren't the biggest fans of Casa Enrique, but like we love it. Very good. Highly recommend it.
Derek's family is so purist when it comes to Mexican food in terms of like
they're like
the
part of
Michoacan Mexican food.
Yeah.
So even like Sonoran Mexican food, they're like, take it or leave it.
It's not my Mexican food.
Not my Mexican.
Yeah. Which is always fun. But yeah.
I love Sonoran Mexican food.
Sonoran Mexican food.
If any of you guys ever go to Tucson, it's delicious.
Carne seca is like very good. It's like very flavorful. Germany travel picture. Germany
personal guide.
Darian says, yes, I love travel pictures on the walls. We do too.
Yes,
we're doing a little bit more of that now, and hopefully we can do more in the future.
Iceland is high on Eric Brown's list. It's also high on our list too. I think that would be really cool, especially like long weekend trip. But I think Iceland's been hit kind of hard on coronavirus, so we'll hopefully be praying for them so we can all go visit.
Yeah, but soon. Megan is saying that we need to go to Prague and Budapest when Europe opens. I agree.
Yes, and Megan, you keep saying Budapest, and we agree. We want to go.
I want to go to both Buda and I want to go to Pest. Both of them. I don't care if there's a river running through it. I want to go to them both. And so, like, Prague and Budapest are very high on my list. My grandfather, so my mom's dad, was very high up in the unions and like the steel mills in Indiana. He was like chairman of grievers of like U.S. Steel and stuff like that. And back during the like Red Scare, like scary times.
The scare.
He went to the USSR to go like. He was on some sort of like union trip, so he went to the USSR, and like we still have these things. There's like a little flag. This is like Praha from Prague, and stuff like that. And the story is that he came back from the USSR from that trip, and like they actually had FBI agents come to the house and confiscate his cameras and like film and all that kind of stuff from that trip. So. I always found that very fascinating. My grandmother said it was not fascinating. It was actually very scary and not cool. Yeah. But me being a teenager, I was like, that's the coolest thing ever.
Well, especially back then, she was probably super worried about him because it was so much harder to communicate while he was gone.
Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, like I really want to go to Prague. I think it'd be a cool place to go and like kind of like connect with like my grandfather and his experiences and stuff, which would be. Really
and we want to go to Poland in the same vein.
Yeah, Poland.
Because the same grandfather has a lot of Polish ancestry. But Gdansk, everyone's agreeing. So much history there. That's a major city in the Prussia era, according to Two Travel on Tour. Yes, totally.
Eric Brown, great. I hear great things about Poland. Definitely a good idea. Yeah, so Poland is one of those places that we really want to go to. Warsaw was largely rebuilt following World War II. It was basically destroyed. There's like a whole thing around like the Polish uprising. You can like kind of like watch videos on it and like some documentaries where they basically revolted and the Nazis kind of like blew up the whole city and the castle and all that kind of stuff. And the Polacks, they kind of like rebuilt everything and they rebuilt the castle and they made it all look old. They have like very wide like sidewalks and boulevards and things like that are very like easy to do for like people, but I would say that there's a lot of things there that are new, like most of it is new, whereas if you go to one of the cities that is still old, if you go to like instead of Warsaw you go to
like Krakow?
Krakow, yeah. Mm-hmm. Krakow is still like largely, what it used to be. And, it's still an old city. It's beautiful. It's kind of like that second city of Poland. So,
yeah,
I'd love to go there.
I would love to go to Krakow too. I've watched there's a Rick Steves episode about Krakow, and I think Walter's World has come out with a couple videos about Krakow on YouTube that I've watched, and it looks really really cool. And Megan's saying Gdansk, Katowice, Wrocław. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Are all high on her list. Warsaw's a skip through. I actually heard that too.
Well, I've heard that Warsaw is nice, and they have a lot of good museums, and it's like a good place to go for like Polish culture. But it's like it's all new. Like it's all post 1945.
So before everything that is currently happening right now, American Airlines had started a direct flight this year to start this summer from Chicago to Krakow, and we were looking into that as a potential for at least a jumping off point, visit Poland plus a lot of Eastern Europe. I believe they've canceled that direct flight as of the time being, but hopefully it could get booted back up like late summer or something like that. But it's showing how people are starting to get more and more interested in Poland, and that it's becoming a destination. But yeah, we've heard great things about Krakow and Warsaw too. So I think, what are you looking at? Yeah. So I think what we are just really hoping to do in 2020 is not only I want to finish all of the states that I haven't been to, including road trips to some of them. But I think we really want to just make it out to Eastern Europe if we can. So fingers crossed, things are going to open back up at some point soon, in a safe way. Like, we definitely don't want it to be like too early. We want everybody to be safe and healthy. Two Travel and Tours saying the Polish offered tremendous resistance against the Nazis, and they ultimately proved to be simply no match for the advanced Nazi German war machine. Yeah, and that's the case with a lot of countries. I think I've mentioned this before on this channel. You guys haven't heard, but my grandfather was in the Netherlands when it got invaded, and then my grandfather was a dual citizen, U.S. and Dutch, and so it was after the bombing of Rotterdam that he left and went to the U.S. with his U.S. citizenship before the U.S. entered the war, and he wasn't the only one that experienced something like that.
Yeah, but I mean that it wasn't like he left like Amsterdam on a flight to the U.S. He'd like flee through Europe, like down through France into Spain.
Well,
and
he got
across, right?
I mean, he got drafted into the Nazi army and fled.
Yeah. So
he was like,
no. It's not as simple as like, no, I'm an American, I'm going to leave. It was a harrowing kind of journey. So
yeah. So it was. A lot of countries, France, Netherlands, Belgium, Poland, they all put up a good fight. It's a tough history to learn about, that's for sure. But
so all right, so it's getting a little bit late. Yeah. If there's any other questions that people have, we're happy to answer a couple more. If you guys have anything for us, but otherwise we'll probably be calling it quits here soon. So let us know. And we're happy to. Yeah,
it's been so great though. I just want to say a really heartfelt thank you to you all for joining and for sticking with us through this multi-hour live stream. It's been really awesome to develop such strong connections with you guys and talk about travel. I thought we were going to be talking about road trips through all of this, and we ended up just geeking out on Europe travel and a lot of other things like that, which we are super pleased to do as well. It's something that both Derek and I are amazingly passionate about, and we're glad to find like-minded folks out there.
I would totally go on a road trip through Eastern Europe, so that would be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Why not?
What would be really great is just sharing throughout the week any sort of content that you guys find that is travel related. I've been trying to post more than ever before on my YouTube channel, just learning about how everybody's dealing with the coronavirus, and I've posted now 4 interviews about New York and Seattle and Argentina and England, and what the coronavirus daily life is like in those places. And been posting different articles that I find on my Twitter account, which I never used Twitter before this, really. I mean, I did, but not really. But now that I'm reading so many great articles about the travel industry, I try to post over there. And then, like we were talking about before, Derek and I are pretty active on Instagram too. So would love to connect with everybody on all of those platforms, because I feel like you guys are all super awesome, really great travel friends, and again, super delighted that you all decided to stick it out with us today. And we do these live streams every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central and every Sunday at 11 a.m. Central, so we'd love to have you guys back on Sunday.
Chin chin.
Yeah, hope you guys all have a really great rest of your night, and it's been such a treat to be with you. Cheers, everyone. Good night.
For a second. Okay.